Now, today, we are gonna see, what if Luke took Harry for Jedi training? Join Patreon for early ACESS and exclusive content of Super Op stories, also adult and steamy Harry Potter stories too. Please subscribe this channel, because definitely I will try my best to provide a valuable content for you all. Also check the description to support the original author for this beautiful creation. On his 11th birthday, Harry Potter was told he was a wizard and could use magic. Harry didn't believe it, of course. How could magic fit in with science and technology? Harry had spent most of his life in a local library to escape the Dursleys who hated him. Harry had studied far ahead into quantum physics after 5 years of studying. It helped that Harry did. Nt put any effort into school after he was beaten for receiving better grades than Dudley. Harry agreed after seeing several spells to go to Hogwarts. He studied his books during the night, only sleeping an average of 5 hours a night. He never allowed himself to do better than his best friend Ron in classes, and didn't put any more effort into the assignments than when he was at the Dursleys. On Halloween, Ron was making fun of a Hermione Granger for being a know-it-all. This only encouraged Harry to hide his true knowledge. When Professor Quirrell announced that there was a troll in the SC pool, Harry felt that he had to step in and find Granger. Ron chased after him, so Harry was unable to use his full power while confronting the troll. Thus the Golden Trio was formed that day. Since Hermione was with them and made Ron study, Harry let his grades rise from an A to an E in most classes. Christmas was a blessing when Harry received his invisibility cloak. Harry was first up that morning. When he found the cloak, he tried it on, and seeing that he disappear in the mirror made Harry reluctant to share his newfound treasure. From that day on, Harry went to the library late at night to read. Harry was well into third-year spells and could do any potion, having learned to follow every instruction while cooking at the Dursleys. Of course, Harry purposely messed the potions up, however he wouldn't let any of them explode. Harry soon learned the statement, "All good things must come to an end," in May when he was forced to stop a professor from stealing the Philosopher's Stone. Harry fought with Professor Quirrell and defeated Voldemort, saving the stone. Having bought a small concealed bag in Diagon Alley, Harry was able to hide the stone and claim its destruction. Harry was able to procure several books from the library the night before leaving Hogwarts. These books were on magical theory and had a spell to block tracking charms on wands. They worked by putting a ward around the wand that blocked the trace, so even muggles seeing magic wouldn't register with the ministry. No one had seen these books in hundreds of years, as they were in a back corner of the library. Harry had scouted the library and noticed Madame Pants never went near that section. After getting home, Harry was able to demonstrate to his family why they should ignore him. He proceeded to disappear into the guest bedroom and read through several books over the next few days. Harry had come up with a theory that magic was an energy field that could be manipulated, and that wizards were like batteries, so he could discharge this energy with spells. Following this theory, Harry began practicing wandless magic in his room. He found that emotions such as anger focused his ability to control magic, and continued experimentation. Transfiguration and charm spells were best focused through frustration to complete the spell, or forcing more energy into the spell. Defensive spells like shields were best controlled with fear to strengthen them. Offensive spells were easiest to control through anger or rage. This was the easiest emotion since Harry had been filled with repressed anger for his whole life. All spells were enhanced through determination to use them and focusing on the results. Words were a means of focus for spells, and any language could be used. However, wizards had decided Latin was the best language for focus, as they weren't normal words to say. Wand movement was used for the same reason, as many wizards and witches were unwilling to focus more on what they want. When Harry realized this, he decided never to use complicated motions beyond a wave or slash. He also tried to focus fully on silent spells, as casting was much faster. Being that he had fought Voldemort, who was supposed to be dead, Harry was preparing for another confrontation. With a warning from Dobby, who Harry took seriously but refused to make promises to, and stunning the elf before he could do anything to the muggles, Harry was on his way to the Weasley family for a month. Harry had read about flowing, so one night he snuck out and went to Grigot's to get money from his account. Harry got a bottomless bag and filled it with 20,000 galleons and a charmed wallet that contained £20,000. He planned to take a nice shopping trip at some point. Harry returned to the burrow and went to bed. No one suspected a thing. A week later, the Weasleys were preparing to go on their shopping trip, and Harry choked while saying Diagon Alley. Harry fell out in a store that he quickly realized was in Nocturne Alley and thought he might as well take a look as he was already there. He found a bookstore and bought several interesting titles, including one called Parcel Magic. When he headed up toward Diagon Alley, Harry spotted a wand shop. The shop was small and in a dark corner, but Harry felt like checking it out. Inside the shop Harry found an old man that looked sick. The sides of the shop contained many odd items such as venoms, bloods, and feathers, as well as woods and precious stones. The man asked for a drop of blood on a parchment to create a custom wand. Harry did so and it listed several items for the wand. Materials: blood wood, walnut, mithril core, phoenix tears basilisk venom dragon heartstring focusing stone, emerald with ruby center. The man pulled out a 15-inch stick of red walnut and placed it in a small box. Harry was told to let his blood fill the box covering the wand, and within 5 minutes the blood had all soaked into the wood. Using magic, the man placed a thin layer of mithril inside the wood, leaving enough room for the core. The core was placed within magically and the wand looked finished. However, the man pulled a small emerald out and after drilling a hole for the ruby placed the stone in the front of the wand. He explained that his blood would help the wood be fully compatible and the mithril was a magical metal that would conduct the magic easily. The emerald would focus normal magic into a nice beam and not lose excess energy during travel. The ruby was useful for offensive spells as it focused powerful spells into a condensed beam of energy hitting a target at maximum power. The final part of creating the wand was using mithril to place runes over the wand. These runes would draw magic from the air to increase power as well as make Harry the only person able to touch the wand. This was followed by runes for indestructibility and automatic return to hand or wand holster with a thought in case it was lost in a duel. Harry scanned for a disillusioned wand holster before paying the man 270 galleons so he wouldn't say anything. The wand was unregistered, untraceable, and very powerful. The entire process only took an hour. Harry returned to Diagon Alley and found the Weasleys with Molly frantically searching for him. He told them he was launched out some fireplace in the back of one of the side alleys. They meet up with the Grangers and Hermione quickly pulled Harry and Ron off to the bookstore. While Ron complained, Harry searched for useful books and found only 3, shield spells, dueling charms, and battle transfiguration. He also picked up the necessary school books. At the end of the day Harry went straight to bed so he wouldn't have to answer awkward questions. He awoke early in the morning so he went out and practiced his spells. When offered the chance to fly, Harry refused to trust his safety to a stick. Harry had always wanted to fly, but in fighter jets, not brooms. Since Ron and his brothers wouldn't let their sister Ginny fly, Harry asked her to teach him to swim in their pond. They were quiet about it since Harry was embarrassed, but within a week Harry was swimming very well. Once they returned to school, Harry returned to his normal routine of going to the library at night. He started to sneak into the restricted section and cast silencing spells so he could read. Harry found books on the mind arts so he read them and practiced occluding his mind. Harry also practiced legitimacy on unsuspecting students like Ron and some kid that kept taking pictures of him. Harry had to laugh at the fact he kept a slight glamour on at all times that would interfere with the pictures. Harry didn't want pictures to appear in the newspapers as he was famous. Draco Malfoy was baying an annoyance throughout the first 2 months and Harry was ready to hex him, but then the attacks began. At first some cat had been petrified, soon followed by several students. One wall had writing on it stating the Chamber of Secrets had been opened. Harry didn't really care, figuring one of the professors could take care of the problem or bring in the ministry. Instead of solving the problem, mandatory dueling was set up for the students. Harry reluctantly went to it and found that the idiot Professor Locke something or other was teaching it. Harry had never bothered paying attention as he realized the books were fiction with no knowledge. Next thing Harry realized he was being called on to come up and duel. Malfoy stood at the other end of the platform, scared Potter. Of what? You don't make me laugh. Begin. Draco sent the first spell. Tarantalagra. Harry responded with several quick spells. Expelliarmus, Impedimenta, Petrificus Totalis. Serpensortia. Harry found a snake coming toward him and said, "Stop, do not attack or I will destroy you." As the snake looked up at him, Snape made his presence known by sending a spell to destroy the snake. Harry looked up and found everyone staring at him. What now? Everyone stared until Ron yelled out, "You're a Pacelmouth, you're evil." Everyone else then seemed to realize they could start saying insults as well. Harry just walked out of the room and headed for his room. Hermione ran after him and joined him. "Harry, are you okay?" Yay, I'm fine. I'm just pissed that everyone turns on me for telling a snake not to attack. That's what you said. Yay, what did you think I said? All we heard was hissing. You were able to talk to snakes, and with the chamber open everyone is going to assume you are the heir of Slytherin and are attacking them. Great, just great. Why did I come to this backwater group? They actually believe in all this magic and are so stereotypical. What do you mean by they believe they're doing magic? What do you call shooting spells from a wand? Simply put, there is an energy field that people can draw from to accomplish amazing things. Like when people can pull a door off a car and other impossible situations that occur. Wizards are like a battery, they don't draw the energy in usually but instead have the energy within them to send out. The greatest wizards are the ones that learn to draw on the energy surrounding us to recharge. That is why Voldemort is able to use killing curses in duels while others quickly become exhausted doing so. Dumbledore does so as well to do all his fancy transfiguration in duels. I doubt they even realize it, as the whole lot of these people think that the two of them are just really powerful. So we are just batteries. Then how can we pull in energy around us? Well, you first have to learn control of your own energy before you can control more. I learned by doing wandless magic. But only the most powerful people can do. No anyone can, but the wizards say it's impossible. They also say I'm evil because I can talk to snakes. Just because they believe so doesn't make it so. It only holds them back. Can you teach me? Not here, it's too dangerous to risk discovery at this school. I can teach you if you can meet me over the summer. My parents have been after me to invite friends over for years. Could you come for Christmas? Isn't that time for family? Quote, my parents won't mind, they aren't going to be home this year. They plan on leaving me alone as always. Why would they leave you alone? While they love me, they can't stand the idea of being around me with my powers. They want me to have someone but they won't stay with me. I understand, at least your family cares for you. I'm willing to come. Thank you so much. I haven't had a real Christmas for a long time. It will be my first. Thanks for inviting me. Well, I will go write a letter. See you later. Hermione ran off and Harry was left alone on his way to his room. He spent the next few weeks continuing to study as well as teach Hermione more spells. A week before break, Harry snuck down to Hogsmeade with the older students and picked up several gifts. Harry LSO went to the Hogshead and bought several cases of butterbeer and a few bottles of fire whiskey for himself. Soon the day came to leave. Harry and Hermione spent the trip talking and playing some games like Hangman. Once the train pulled in, Harry and Hermione got in her parents' car and the trip to the house was silent. They dropped the two off and said they were heading to visit Hermione's aunt. Harry was confused as to why they left two teenagers in a house alone but choose to not dwell. Instead, Harry began to teach wandless magic. They enjoyed Christmas together and Hermione was willing to actually have fire whiskey. The two of them had soon finished off a bottle and were heavily intoxicated as they had never drunk before. They soon found themselves kissing each other and some kissing before they fell asleep. The next day was very tense and neither was sure what to say. Finally Harry said, "We're teenagers, it's expected for us to experiment. Let's just go with it, was fun, might do again, and move on." Hermione was shocked at first till she thought about it. "You're right, but could we experiment again? It was fun." Soon the vacation was over and they were forced to return to school. They had spoken to Hermione's parents about Harry spending the summer at the house and they had agreed without a problem. They returned to a schedule to only learn some basic spells, nothing too powerful, at least in the open. They meet at night and were working on more powerful spells. By April several more attacks had happened and one night Harry and Hermione had been out late and found Ginny walking on the second floor. They followed quietly and soon found Ginny jumping down a pipe in a bathroom. They glanced at each other and agreed to follow. In the chamber they were separated by a cave-in. Harry continued on while Hermione cleared the rubble. Harry soon found himself fighting a basilisk and was fortunate to have a phoenix come to help. By transfiguring a rock into a sword, Harry was able to kill the basilisk and stick a fang into Riddle's diary. Harry and Hermione placed Ginny outside the headmaster's office with the diary. The next few weeks they worked on stripping the basilisk corpse and Harry got the skin turned into armor for the two of them. The new phoenix became Harry's friend and was named Ares as he had appeared during battle. He had dark red feathers that looked like blood. While he wouldn't stay, Ares was a nice friend to talk to for the next 2 years. Harry decided since he had a wand with phoenix feather to collect one as well as some tears. Harry went into the Forbidden Forest and found a dragon named Norbert. The dragon was Hagrid's and was being raised secretly. Harry decided to help Hagrid with raising Norbert as he always loved the idea of dragons. Harry found a spell to collect dragon heartstrings and asked Norbert for one. Norbert seemed to accept so. Harry was almost ready to get a new wand. He searched the forest for a red walnut tree and finally found one. He got a stick 15 inches and magically prepared it in the shape of a wand. Also, when Norbert shedding his scales, Harry requested to be allowed to keep them, which Hagrid had no problem with. Once summer came, Harry and Hermione went to Diagon Alley and Harry led the way to the wand shop. Hermione was a bit upset with Nocturne Alley, but she soon accepted it. Harry went in and asked the man to make him another wand. When Harry gave him the wood already soaked in blood, phoenix tears, basilisk venom and a small emerald and ruby he had picked up in another shop, the man was shocked. It was rare a person got materials already connected before being a wand. The second wand seemed nearly identical to the first, but Harry could feel a major difference in power. Harry also asked D for a piece of holly and gave the phoenix feather so it would look identical to his legal wand. Harry kept his two powerful wands in disillusioned holsters on his arms, his new holly in a disillusioned holster on his leg, and his legal wand on a visible hip holster. Hermione soon got a new wand which was far less powerful but very easy for her to control. The two left the shop and went to an armor shop nearby. Inside they were measured for shirt, pants, gloves, boots, cloak, vest, and a jacket, two for each. Harry also got a hoodie made. They were able to wear the armor in both Wizarding and Uggle worlds and made the armor with both dragon and basilisk scales. Dragon was better against physical attack while basilisk was more spell resistant. Harry asked for mithril runes to be placed in a the armor, including runes so it would self-clean, repair, always fit, elemental resistant, and nearly indestructible. They picked several books up while they were nearby before going back to Hermione's house. Her parents were only there for 10 hours a day and that was only to sleep and get ready to work. They didn't seem to care what the two teens did at all. The two continued to practice magi every day and Hermione was able to get the basics of wandless down. The two of them also experimented with fire whiskey and kissing several times over the summer since they were alone. Returning to school, they learned that Sirius Black had escaped Azkaban and wanted to kill Harry. To which Harry responded with, "Why is it always me, why can't they be after Ron?" Dementors attacked Harry several times, prompting Professor Lupin to teach Harry the Patronus charm. Harry read about Animagus abilities and Hermione helped him brew the potion. Harry had a form of bird while Hermione feline. The two continued practicing and near the end of the year Hermione found she was a black panther, and Harry was a black phoenix with green feather types and eyes. Harry also found he was able to control lightning and green flames thanks to his form. When he pushed more power the flames would turn into a beautiful blue. The two of them finished the year by rescuing Sirius after they learned he was innocent. The summer was identical to the last with them learning and at the end they decided to date. They started the year great until Harry was announced a Triwizard champion. Only Hermione believed him sense so they were frequently disappearing in the evenings to calm themselves. During the first task Harry calmly walked up to his dragon and thanks to taking care of Norbert, he used a few charms to make him unnoticed. Harry was the first to get the egg and without injury. Draco Malfoy had tried to attack Harry and was turned into a ferret. Harry always called him Ferret afterward and Draco became angry. He became darker, trying new curses secretly. He tried to turn the school even further away from Harry and was succeeding, except Harry didn't care. He tried to get on Harry's nerves but was easily dealt with. The Yule Ball was fun as Harry and Hermione went together. Since they had practiced dancing in several ways including a time of Hermione trying pole dancing and strip dancing for Harry. They were easily the best couple on the floor. After the dance they decided to go farther in their experimentation with touching each other. The second task was extremely easy for Harry to finish. As Hermione always had a tracking device on her thanks to the earrings Harry had given her for Christmas. The third task soon arrived. Most of the school was uncaring as to whether Harry was competing or not at this point. But not Ron and the other Gryffindors. Harry had given up on sleeping in his bed so he had created his own hideout. Being an animagus helped a lot when he could flame there. Harry ran into the maze and was using a point me charm. He managed to make it to the cup before any of the others, but the cup turned out to be a portkey. Harry had disappeared. Harry landed in the middle of a graveyard. He moved to get up but was hit with a stunner. The next thing Harry knew was that Voldemort was standing in front of him talking to Death Eaters. Harry also saw that Voldemort had both the Yew and Holly brother wands. Harry flamed to the cup and grabbed it, leaving the graveyard behind. Harry landed in front of the crowd and saw Hermione running toward him. When she reached him, all he could say was, "My arm." Before passing out, Hermione did several rudimentary healing spells before levitating him to the hospital wing. It was 10 minutes later that anyone realized that Harry had disappeared again. When questioned, Harry only told the minister that Death Eaters had gathered and were trying to revive Voldemort. He also stated that they had taken his wand and he hadn't been able to recover it. Fudge told the Aurors to begin looking for Death Eaters that escaped. Once the ministry personnel left, Harry quietly informed Hermione and Dumbledore that Voldemort had been revived successfully. Over the summer, Harry trained harder than before and managed to successfully increase the size of his core by using more and more power. Fifth year began well. Harry and Hermione had broken up, deciding they were better as friends for the time being, and others were talking to Harry now that he was obviously been set up. Harry refused to forgive Ron for the betrayal, and Ron tried to get others to turn again but failed. Voldemort was quiet throughout the year. Harry was collecting a truck filled with an entire library of books from beginning to mastery of spells ever since Dumbledore told him the prophecy. Harry had also gotten a large supply of potion supplies and had made many healing potions and a few others already. Harry was prepared for the war to hit businesses and got what was needed early. Harry had also removed his family jewels and much of his fortune into the truck. He had converted the galleons into pure gold and the sickles were converted to silver. Harry had left the nuts, which he had millions in the bank, and willed them to Hermione in case anything happened. While the goblins were unhappy with his removal of money and treasures, they were unable to stop him. While he was doing this, Harry remembered how powerful Mithril was, so he bought several blocks for future use. Harry continued studying throughout the year and sent a few letters to Sirius and Remus. With Voldemort staying hidden, the Order of the Phoenix was forced to wait and prepare. He spent a good deal of time in the Chamber of Secrets and the Room of Requirements practicing powerful spells and learning how to allow technology to work with the energy his spells put off. He found the electromagnetic hardened computers were able to work in Hogwarts, proving to Harry that magic was due Saint another form of energy, and too much gathered disrupted electronics. In the Chamber of Secrets, Harry spent his time training with target practice. He started with long distance, followed by moving targets at both close and long distances. Thanks to the Tri-Wizard tournament, Harry was friends with a Bulgarian Muggleborn who sent him a Arcus 98DA double-action 2-tone 9mm pistol. The pistol was SM. All enough to conceal, and Harry charmed the magazine from only 10 rounds to 10,000. He also had a spare magazine just in case he ever ran out, considering the trouble he had in life. The gun was charmed to be more powerful. No kickback, fire farther, auto-clean, and to never jam. Harry also had to use real bullets, so he went through a supplier to get him 25,000 rounds and use magic to place small runes in the rounds to give the different abilities. Some were elemental charged, while others were made to explode. Harry got a regular 10-round magazine for stunners in case he had to capture someone, but left the others mixed in the two big magazines. Harry transfigured some bones into several magazines filled with regular bullets and proceeded to practice his aim on the targets. At first he was horrible until he compensated for the new angle his hand was at when firing. By Christmas he could hit any non-moving target with deadly accuracy, and also could hit human-shaped dummies in hands and legs easily. By the end of the year, Harry had his targeting down to be able to hit moving targets while he ran around dodging attacks with perfect accuracy. For long rang he hit a target but couldn't guarantee survival or not. When the end of the year arrived, Harry completed his owls and left with Hermione to go home. Harry was keeping up his Muggle knowledge and had a large book supply on the latest information. The summer was very quiet until a massive attack on the Ministry had killed half of the Aurors. Voldemort led the attack himself, proving he was back without a doubt. The fools in the wizarding world turned to Harry to save them again. The next few weeks were tense, and when Hogwarts began the year, many were worried about an attack on the train. Harry had proven with his owls that he was extremely talented, so he gave up playing dumb. He worked his hardest, and with his new Holy Wand he was able to do so much more easily than before. Over the next few months attacks occurred, killing many. Many students returned home for Christmas, but Harry and Hermione had stayed at the request of Dumbledore for their safety. Harry always kept his armor, 3 wands, and gun on at all times, as well as keep his shrunken trunk with all his other possession in his pocket, so he already felt safe but played along. Unfortunately, that was when Voldemort had intended to strike. Christmas Day, everyone was sitting down for lunch when the Dumbledore looked up in alarm. He rushed out of the Great Hall and was hit with a green light. Albus Dumbledore died. Voldemort walked into the hall and students screamed. Voldemort just turned his head toward Harry and said, "Hello Potter, I hope you are more of a challenge than dear Albus was." Harry, seeing where this was leading, just said, "Let's get it over with already. We will know the result after the duel. There's no reason to prolong it." Voldemort looked at Harry with interest before clearing an area for their duel. Harry hugged Hermione and walked over, the two bowed and the spells flew. Missing or hitting with no one knowing who used which. Avada Kedavra, Prosterno, Reducto, Expelliarmus, Avada Kedavra, Incendio, Crucio, Avada Kedavra. Avada Kedavra, Pubsisto. The two threw spells back and forth. Beams of blue, green, and red were seen commonly with sporadic appearances of the other colors. Harry dodged the best he could and his defense stopped most other spells. Stupefy, Incendia Offendo, Rememdium, Levitas Offend, Reducto, Stupefy, Crucio, Imperio, Atero, Petrificus Totalis, Ultio, Reducto, Serpensortia. Voldemort forgot Harry was a Parselmouth and was hit by Harry's next spell as he was surprised Harry had simply ordered the snake to stop. Harry pulled his gun and fired hundreds of rounds into Voldemort, but they were unable to kill him. Harry was forced to return to spells. Vigoratus, Reducto, Extermino, Wingardium Leviosa, Prosterno, Subsisto, Premium, Pondero, Texi, Declino, Res Publica, Pulsus, Seorsum. Sepulchrum, Proventus, Incendia Levitas Offend, Stupefy, Efflixi, Ultianus. The next spells were becoming more powerful elemental spells and most were getting thr. Ow, causing both fighters to heal themselves. Efrego Armo, Frendo Compages, Efrego Cruer, Ingenero, Senium, Morior, Intereo, Caries, Castigatio, Pina, Piaculum, Liver, Infortunium, Orado, Perdo, Obruo, Prosterno, Erisum, Erisi, Efflixi. Aduro, Exusum, Ardio, Senium Sums Compages. The last spell hit Voldemort and was beginning to decay his muscles and bones. They both sent their most powerful spells at the other. Lux Lucis Exero Lemma, Atrum Atero Lemma. Both spells crashed together, create an intense bright light followed by a hole of darkness. So Harry tried sending a spell that would burn Voldemort apart forever, while Voldemort chose to send Harry to a place that he would be no threat. Voldemort sent out one last Avada Kedavra which hit Luna Lovegood, while she wasn't a great friend. She did hang out with Harry from time to time. Harry just wanted Voldemort to burn for the death of Luna, and he sent a powerful and completely unblockable elemental spell. Eternus Flamma Aurier Aurieri, Ortus Quad Exero is Res Quad Offero Suis Inficio in his Universitas. Voldemort wanted Harry to suffer. He had finally realized that he could not kill Harry, so he concluded that it was necessary to remove Harry from the war. He also felt like causing Harry even more problems and de-aging Harry to age 3. He quickly thought of the two spells he needed and combined them. This ability was the true reason he was the most powerful Dark Lord in history. Theo Parvulus ut vos es sent ut alus universum per vicus quad tractus ut nunquam reverto. Both spells were finished at the same time and flew into each other. Unlike the last spells, these two flew straight on, hitting their intended targets. Bright blue flames rose from the ground, consuming Voldemort. At the same time a vortex formed around Harry and you could see him de-aging. Fortunately, Harry's clothes automatically resized and Harry didn't lose his holstered weapons. However, the Holy Phoenix feather wand was dropped on the ground. Rai could feel his body shrink and quickly translated what the spell had said: "Become a child as you are sent to another universe through time and space to never return." Harry disappeared into the vortex, lost forever. His last thought before darkness consumed him was that at least he took Voldemort down with him. Back in the Great Hall, Hermione watched Harry disappear and swore she would find him one day. The next year, Hermione graduated top of her class, and she was quickly accepted into the unspeakable. Hermione studied unknown spells and tried to determine their effect. Her biggest project was to learn Voldemort's spell and go to Harry. Knowing Harry would want a copy of spells and their uses, Hermione kept 2 journals, one journal to turn into her superiors and the other to save for Harry. Thus, Hermione began her path to return to Harry's side. Jedi Master Kreia landed her small vessel on Rusin. The planet was relatively unknown with only a few thousand inhabitants. However, the Sith Lord Kamak Da had hidden one of his holocrons. She searched through an ancient ruin and eventually found the holocron she was looking for. Holocrons were small cubes that contained the knowledge of Jedi and Sith. They had the creator's image and personality talk to the user and teach the user the knowledge. Some had sensors that limited knowledge to the user's force level. She sensed a powerful surge in the force nearby. So she investigated, prepared for anything. What she didn't expect was to come across a small child with a powerful presence in the force. "What's your name, child?" Harry H. had just come out of the vortex and was muttering about getting revenge on Voldemort at his first opportunity. He didn't hear the question and continued muttering. Kreia was only able to pick up parts of what he was saying but heard Harry mention revenge. However, Harry was speaking quietly, so she thought he had answered her question. She had only heard Revan, and believed that he had meant Revan, an Echani name. She placed her hand on the child's shoulder and he snapped his head around to see her, barely keeping himself from attacking. "Well then, Revan, do you have any family nearby?" Harry was confused as to why she called him Revan, but felt he might as well use the name for now until he could find out where and when he was. He shook his head in answer to her question. "Well, then, would you like to join me on my ship? I can train you to be a powerful Jedi." "What's a Jedi?" "Jedi are the defenders of the Republic. We use the Force to protect people." "What's the Force?" Kreia was a bi. Surprised that this child that was 3 or 4 never heard of the Jedi or the Force. However, she shrugged it off, as some people don't like Jedi, and if Revan had been isolated he wouldn't have heard of Jedi. "The Force is a being that gives us power. You have a lot of power that I can sense, and you need to be trained so you don't do anything bad." Harry thought about it, and since he had nowhere else to go, agreed to go with her. Harry kept his trunk hidden and added his wands into it to hide. He began to train under Kreia to use the Force. He soon learned that the Jedi agreed mostly with his theories about magic, or the Force being an energy field. 7 years later, Harry, now known as Revan, had become very powerful. He had trained both his body and mind to use the Force to the best of his ability. Master Kreia was soon going to take him before the Jedi Council for the first time. She had been tracking down holocrons over the years while training Harry. Harry had managed to remove 1 Jedi and 1 Sith holocron into his trunk for future study. He had long ago realized that power was neither good nor evil, only the person using the power. Harry had studied the 7 Jedi lightsaber styles and was well on his way to mastery. He had also looked into 2 Mandalorian, 3 Echani, and 1 Sith form of sword combat. Revan had kept the Sith form hidden from Master Kreia, knowing that he couldn't know it without a holocron. Revan was also able to rely on 4 forms that he had learned as Harry Potter. Revan had learned much from the Jedi holocron he had nicked. Apparently He had managed to nick 2 holocrons that gatekeepers didn't care to restrict knowledge. Revan was becoming overconfident and had already built himself a dual-bladed saber that was able to split into 2 separate sabers. He had built the handles out of mithril and covered them in power and indestructible runes. He had covered the handles with a thin layer of cortosis to turn the handle black and give the impression that the cortosis shorted any sabers that touched the handle, making it indestructible. He used emeralds for the primary blade color with 1 meter length. He had also built an 3 meter length blue blade into both sides so that he was able to wield them easier at his current height. Revan was planning to build a light whip for a secondary weapon, but as he didn't have instructions or time to master the weapon, he chose to wait. Upon arrival on Coruscant, Revan did not expect to have Master Kreia called away to the council, leaving him nothing to do. He received a message 20 minutes later to entertain himself for the next few hours. Revan found his way to the dueling rooms and found an empty room to practice in. He focused on the first 3 forms as he wanted to call attention to himself from observers, but not to scare off any competition. As expected, within an hour an apprentice challenged him to a duel. Revan played with him for 10 minutes before soundly defeating him. Others, seeing this, decided that they wanted to duel as well, and after 3 hours, Revan had won 13 duels. Now older Padawans were arriving and fighting him. He was better, but they provided an actual challenge. When a newly appointed knight asked to fight, Revan found himself completely outclassed in technique and size. However, unlike others in the same situation, T.S. only drove Revan on to do better and be stronger. He incorporated several Echani moves into his fighting and was soon able to win through sheer determination. Revan was unable to duel any more that day and instead watched the knights and a few masters dueling. Revan knew he was much better than the Padawans when he used all his knowledge and his own saber, but he had kept that a secret, only using a dueling saber provided. Revan returned to the ship to rest, and when he awoke the next morning, Kreia had already went to another meeting. He found himself in the training room combining the STR honest aspects of the different forms into 3 personal styles. A fast style close to the body for quick strikes and deflection defense, a medium style that accommodated both fast and strong attacks not too far from the body. And finally a strong style that was made created to pummel the enemy with solid strikes. Revan also made sure that he was able to quickly end any saber locks in a fight, since that was a good way to get killed. The most interesting part of his styles was the fact that the different cultures were only able to be mixed with earth techniques, as it was made to flow and combine martial arts into the fight. Revan finally felt his styles were complete after a year of work. These attacks would confuse Jedi, Mandalorian, Ichani, and Sith alike, as they had both familiar and unfamiliar techniques involved. The worst part of the styles had been to be sure he could deflect blaster bolts and including force moves. Revan continued his training with 12 remotes floating around taking shots at him. Revan had made it harder by programming the remotes to work as a group like an actual army rather than thugs. He continued his practice until he received an order to report to the council. Revan quickly cleaned himself and replaced his remotes in his travel case. He then went to the council chambers. He walked into the meeting and bowed. "Yes, masters." Vandar was the first to speak. "Hello, Padawan Revan. I am Master Vandar. With me are Masters Doric, Zar, Vrook, Zezkael, Kavar, Vosh, and Atris." Vandar was a short guy, shorter than Revan even. He looked like a deformed house elf but not overly old. Doric was an older man that was obviously knowledgeable and, from what Revan knew, a librarian. Vrook was a man that seemed to struggle with emotions and pride. He was as new to the council, and Revan didn't believe he would last long. Zezkael and Kavar were both middle-aged men, former fighting with a dual-blade saber and the latter with 2 sabers. They were thought to be the best with their forms. Vosh was also new to the council and wasn't one to speak up much. Atris was a strong-willed, prideful Jedi that believed that she can learn any knowledge without a price. While Revan believed that he could learn any knowledge, he knew that there was a price to that knowledge and he couldn't fully follow any code of the Jedi. Both Atris and Vrook would easily become enemies in the future if he wasn't careful. Now Zar was a level-headed Twi'lek who actually seemed to care for his students and understand them. Vandar and Doric both seemed to care, but they were too old to understand any more without over-rationalization. "Revan, they are taking you away from me to train themselves. They don't trust me not to lead you to the dark side." Kreia decided to cut tea. The chase as normal and showed her displeasure with the council. "Master Kreia, it's not that we don't trust you, it's just the work you are doing. Otherwise known as, you lack of faith in me. Who then will be my new master?" "Master Zar is going to pick up your training." "Very well, I would like to ask for permission to search into night-level materials." "Why, young Padawan, would you need that?" "I have been researching archaic abilities of the Force that most Jedi have forgotten after all this time." "Could you give us an example?" "Battle meditation is a powerful ability. Its use full in any situation, and normal Jedi use it partially in battle with precognition. However, the true art is many times more powerful and useful." "How do you know of this ability?" "Well, there were SA holocrons stored in the ship and I used the Jedi ones and most accepted me as a knight." "Not all of them were willing to accept you as a knight. Wouldn't that mean that you are unprepared for this knowledge?" Revan blushed. "Actually, the ones that didn't accept me as a knight insisted I was a master." Atris stated "And why would holocrons of ancient Jedi think that you are a master boy?" "I am far more knowledgeable than I let known, and I'm pretty good with a lightsaber. I saw the records of your duels yesterday. You may be better than many as you age, but you have nothing on any experienced knight. I was holding back to using forms 1, 2, 3, and an Ichani form as I saw no reason to show my true abilities." "So you think you can defeat me in a duel, boy? One-on-one? You wouldn't last 5 minutes with me." Kreia interrupted. "Padawan, how many times have I told you to respect your superiors? And how many times have I replied only if they respect me first? Anyway, she," Revan pointed at Atris, "is not my superior." Atris drew her saber and brought it down on Revan. Revan simply raised his hand and created a shield with the Force stopping the saber. He followed by trapping the saber, throwing Atris back, and by the time she was up again she found her saber at her own neck. Vandar stopped them. "That's enough. Padawan, we will discuss your request later." "Master Atris, sit down now." "Padawan Revan, you are free to go." "Master Kreia, you are dismissed, you can say your farewells." They bowed to Master Vandar and left the room. The two walked silently to the ship. "Master, could I have 1 or 2 of the holocrons? Will that be on top of the 2 you have? I was wondering if you knew about them." Of course I knew. I'm proud of you, Revan. You may keep any 2 holocrons. You have proven you can use the knowledge responsible. I wish to see you again, but I feel we won't meet again. You were a good apprentice. I know I shouldn't, but I congratulate you for putting Atris in her place. Thank you. You were the greatest master I could have. I enjoyed the travels and recovering ancient knowledge. I wish we could continue, but I know, it is useless to wish that impossibility, but I do. Revan collected his supplies and grabbed the 2 most knowledgeable holocrons, 1 Jedi, 1 Sith. Kreia smiled as she watched him exit the ship. She knew he was a powerful Jedi and he would only become more so. That was the last time Kreia saw Revan. Goodbye, Master Kreia, may the Force be with you. Goodbye, Jedi Revan, may the Force serve you well. Revan paused at the Sith response, but he let it go. His master had researched the Sith greatly, so it wasn't too odd for her. Kreia watched him leave and thought to herself, he will never fall. He will be far more powerful than me or any other. Even with the power of the ancient Sith in my hand, he could defeat me. It was a true honor to train one such as him. Revan continued to grow in strength and made friends with 3 others. A girl 3 years younger named Bastila Shan, a girl his same age Stephanie Katarn, and a guy 4 years older Malik. In public, Malik and Revan were inseparable, while in the library or private he would only be with the girls. Bastila was fun to be around, though Revan had to pull her out of her pride. Being an apprentice of Vrook was not the best for her. Steph was his best friend. Shish. E was a lot like Hermione, and for a while they dated, not that anyone knew. She agreed that the masters were to set in their ways and needed to get out more in the future. Malik was useful for his POW. To duel with, and he liked to hang around. He reminded Revan of Ron Weasley. Both boys wanted fame and power from being his friend. Revan acted like he was best friends, but only to draw attention from his time with the girls. It took the council 3 years to give Revan the access codes to get the knowledge he wanted. That was soon after they discovered a non-existent Jedi had been accessing T-Hose-type files ever since Revan had been dropped off. The girls laughed because the council gave him access since they couldn't prove he actually did anything wrong. Revan laughed because they hadn't thought to check on non-existent masters. Revan trained Bastila and Stephanie with his knowledge and use of a lightsaber. The day Revan turned 15, he went through the trials and passed with ease. Since the Jedi didn't know of his experiences as Harry, Revan was the youngest knight in the order, and already some were expecting him to soon be granted a rank of master. It was unfortunate that OK was pranked by the trio, though he didn't have a clue Bastila was involved. This led to Vrook disliking Revan and Steph and reminded Revan of Snape's treatment of him as the son of James Potter. He was now listed as enemy in Revan's book. Revan had tried to teach Steph magic, however it seemed that the Jedi weren't batteries and only had an easy access to the Force. She was given a few potions to assist her in the future. But Revan had to be careful of potions' use, as he had no idea when he could return home and replace them. He vowed to keep potions used to a minimum. 4 years later, the Mandalorian War began. Revan was on a mission and his ship went down. Revan fought his way past several dozen Mandalorian warriors and saved the passengers and crew of his ship. When he returned, the Jedi saw vids of what he had gone through. Seeing the powers of the Force Revan wielded so easily got the council thinking and granted him the rank of Jedi Master at the age of 20. Once again he was the youngest to ever do so. That same year both Stephanie and Bastila were raised to knights thanks to their classes with Revan. Malik was still only a Padawan and was ready to kill. He seemed to court everything on a silver platter since he was friends with Revan. Malik and several of his friends quietly left one day and disappeared. Revan happened to catch the news one day and saw that Malik was on. He was preaching that the Republic needed help and the Jedi refused to give it. He spoke of how he and 27 friends had left the Order to save the Republic. Malik called on other Jedi to leave the Order and become the saviors of the Republic. By the end of the year 278 Jedi had abandoned the Order and they were quickly dying under Malik's leadership. Revan went to the council to beg for leave to help the Jedi who had gone to war. Revan saw that they and the Republic would fall without a strong leader. He went to a small shipyard where they began building a powerful warship to fight the Mandalorian. Revan went to the different Jedi outposts and rallied 2,000 to his cause. He also went to several Republic admirals who he planned his strategy. The Republic built the Phoenix fleet and Revan's personal command ship was the Lightning. The admirals prepared the entire fleet with both new and experienced personnel. 6 months later the Phoenix fleet was ready. Revan sent word to his people to get to the fleet. The next day the Jedi realized they had pushed Revan too far. They remembered he would do his best to save the innocent whenever he could. And they had told him to do nothing. Vrook of course claimed Revan had fallen to the dark side. 500 cruisers and destroyers left the shipyards across the Republic. Hundreds of smaller corvettes and freighters joined them. The Phoenix fleet had risen from the ashes of the Republic, worlds were burning and dozens of ships had been destroyed, but the Phoenix always rises. Revan Corden aided a massive strike on several supply worlds that were left open to allow the newest Mandalorian offensive. Revan split his fleet and sent each part on its way. The Lightning and its sister ships too. Course for Mandalore, the Ultimate's position. The attack went perfectly. Once the fleet had struck the supply worlds, the Mandalorians called in assistance. By the time Revan reached Mandalore's position, there were only a small number of destroyers to help the ship. Mandalore escaped that day, but the Republic had shown its true might. Malak's small fleet was rescued and only 15 Jedi had survived. Malak tried to claim control, except the Phoenix fleet had been picked for loyal crews and no defectors or mutineers. Malak and his men were soon sent back to get a new fleet of their own, but this time they were under the orders of Revan. Over the next several months many planets were fought over, and several were burned from the face of the galaxy. Having only 2 sister ships to the Lightning was good. Bastilla was given the water, and Stephanie was given the fire. They each took their portion of the fleet into their own battle sectors. Revan led his fleet to fight a powerful shipyard at the edge of known space. They attacked and managed to win thanks to superior technology, but they found the vector of the escape ships disturbing. They flew straight into the unknown regions. Rev and ordered a group to track them down and continued his attacks along other Mandalorian bases at the edge. All escaped into the unknown regions, and later when all the groups gathered their data they were able to target the unknown system. Revan joined Stephanie's fleet and they took off to confront this new base. However, what they found was highly disturbing. They could feel the dark side's power warped through this region of space. Unknown ship flying could be felt having a powerful taint by the dark side. The fleets fought and Revan managed to pull off a victory, however he decided to continue. This fight he sent orders for the entire Phoenix fleet to join him. He talked for a long time with Bastilla and Stephanie before deciding what to do. He sent Stephanie to continue fighting the Mandalorian fleet with Malak's new group. Bastilla was to return to the Jedi, saying that Revan was close to the edge of falling since the Jedi already believed it so and would not question Bastilla's return to them. She would prepare a group of Jedi to join with him when the time was right. Revan fought in the unknown regions for a year. In this time he had learned that he was fighting the true Sith. He had set up 5 small bases. One was a Jedi academy for Force-sensitive children that they found. The second and third were to train men for the fleet. They had found many non-Force-sensitive planets that were used as slave labor for the Sith. After freeing them, Harry had thousands willing to join him and had to train both them and future men. The fourth was set up to build fighters since they were lost so often. While the fifth was a shipyard that was already building several full-size warships. Each base had mines, gun platforms, and 50 ships for defense. Harry had also constructed droids to help in the fight. Hunter-Killer 1 through 30 had all failed. HK-30 was a design that was capable of fighting the Sith army, and Harry had a 6th base built to build the droids. The next successful design was HK-47. However, only one model was built as it was too expensive and the design too hard to mass produce. The droid was sent to track down true Sith that had infiltrated the Republic. This droid was fully capable of killing Force users and had disappeared during its mission. Harry had fought the Sith long enough to completely empty his 9mm gun from Earth before the Sith had destroyed it. He lost many men, but they had freed even more. The idea of freedom was new to the people in Sith territory and they quickly fell in love with the idea. Harry found himself delving deeper into the Force and learning new abilities, but he didn't use many spells since he needed an ace up his sleeve. The true Sith had ordered the Mandalorian fleet to attack the Republic. He also learned of their academy on Malachor V. He coordinated a strike with the fleets of Stephanie and Malak to make one last attack. However, seeing their plan was a naval war, Revan ordered all his Jedi onto another ship that left for one of his many bases in Sith space. The battle was hard to lure the Mandalorian fleet into the gravity well of Malachor V. When the gravity well was created, most of Revan's fleet jumped to his base while Malak's forces waited too long to jump away and were crushed. They had won the battle with heavy losses. Stephanie had lost the ability to feel the Force, and while Revan knew much, he had no idea what to do to help her. Revan told her to return to the Jedi Council and ask for their help while he went to fight the Sith. Malak said he would finish sweeping up stray Mandalorian fleets before returning. The following 2 years Revan's forces were nearly destroyed. Sith forces had lost much of their fleet to hit-and-run attacks and would be unable to go into a full-scale war with the Republic. Revan had set up a Jedi Academy on one of his worlds and had taken many young and uncorrupted children to train in the ways of the Jedi. Revan, unlike the others, had researched deeply into the dark side powers and learned to control them. He was a balance of light and dark, using emotions to fuel his power, but had control over his emotions unlike many of the Sith. He had kept his research away from the other Jedi, feeling that they had no ability to control their emotions after suppressing them for so long. Revan contacted Malak to ask for reinforcements, and Malak told Revan to meet him above Telos. Malak leaked the information the Republic and set a trap for Revan. When Revan emerged from hyperspace, he found Malak's fleet bombarding Telos. Next he found a team of Jedi had made their way on board his ship and were coming for him. Revan realized Malak's betrayal and prepared to fight him. However, the Jedi team had come onto his bridge. Malak fired on the lightning, damaging the ship and nearly killing Revan and the Jedi. Revan locked his mind within a powerful occlumency shield that saved him when his body was badly damaged. Bastilla couldn't kill her old friend, even if he had turned and saved his body before running to the escape pods. She and Revan were the only survivors. On Coruscant, the Jedi Council debated what to do with him. They did not kill Prison. Ur's and Revan's mind appeared to be completely destroyed. Atris voted to kill him off, but Master Vosh came up with the idea to create a new mind. The mind was one filled with the light side ideals they could then retrain Revan and send him to fight Malak. Over a month later the council finally agreed. They created the mind of Cryo Mindscape and gave him the skills of a Republic soldier as well as memories. He was transferred onto the Endar Spire and went about his job. Days later Revan's occlumency shield began to fall, feeling that his body had recovered. He found this new creation in his mind and destroyed it, scared by why it would be there. He found himself waking up on a ship and felt explosions. He got up and went to get dressed. He found his trunk was still on him in a hidden pouch and resized and opened it. He grabbed his old dragon basilisk armor and put it on, as well as grabbed his first lightsaber. The saber had been stored there as he had needed several disposable sabers to fight the Sith. He restored his trunk before going to the door and seeing it open. Immense and Trask Uglo were under attack by the Sith fleet. That got Revan moving, thinking about how they had found him and where he was. "Where are we?" "We're on the Endar Spire, a Republic warship. We're transporting Bastilla and a company of Jedi to Dantooine." That got Revan's attention and quickly got him moving. He suddenly remembered where he had last seen Bastilla and what Malak had done. "I'd better not let anyone know my name. I'll have to use another until I defeat Malak." "Well, let's move, soldier." Revan led Trask into the first corridor and opened the next door. Seeing two Jedi fighting and realizing that one was dark, Revan jumped into the fight and struck the dark Jedi down. The male Jedi introduced herself as Amanda Starscream. Revan was forced to introduce himself. "I'm Harry Potter, we need to get moving." Harry led the way and attacked several Sith troops and realized Malak had taken the name and they weren't being attacked by the true Sith. When they were on the bridge, an explosion blew a console up in Trask's face, killing him. Harry, pained by the loss, led the Jedi to the next rooms until they ran into a Sith and Amanda ran in, locking the door behind her. Harry soon felt her die as he continued to get to the escape pods. He and Carth were the last to escape from the ship. Harry slept the night and after waking up had Carth to deal with. "Good morning. Who are you?" "Harry Potter, I'm a Jedi." "Why does your service record state you are Cryo Mindscape?" "A Republic soldier with little combat experience. I was undercover so that at least someone would be able to protect Bastilla." "Do you happen to know where she is?" "No, I scouted the area and it seems that she is most likely to have fallen into the Undercity." "Well, we should get moving." Harry walked out of the room and saw a man shooting a Duros. When the man angrily turned and fired on Harry, Harry raised his lightsaber, deflecting the attack. "He's a Jedi, gun him down." The two droids opened fire and Harry sliced through both of them before killing the soldier. He stopped to heal the wounded Duros and was thanked. Harry and Carth walked through the upper city until reaching the elevator guarded by a Sith trooper. Harry used mind influence. "You will allow us through." "I will allow you through." "You will forget we were ever here." "I will forget you were ever here." Carth followed Harry onto the elevator and looked worried. "Don't worry, Carth, it only works on the weak-minded." You have a strong mind. If you ever try that on me I will kill you, he said, obviously suspicious of Harry. Better idea would be if any Jedi tries that on you to come and tell me. Why would I tell you? I don't follow the council or the code. What? Now he was raising his gun on Harry. Would you ever listen to someone claiming that there is no emotion and anytime you become emotional they tell you to control your emotions? That doesn't even make sense. That's what I mean, that is the reason I don't listen to the council or the code. I also don't believe that having the Force makes me a better person, only one with a better weapon. And as any soldier knows, it's the soldier that wins the battle, not the weapon. The weapon only makes it easier. Okay, I understand. Karth lowered his gun, seeing Harry's point. The elevator opened and the two walked out. They witnessed a small battle between gangs, but then the winners decided they looked like easy prey. They came over and attacked. Harry lit his saber and quickly killed the attackers. They walked up to a person standing guard at one door and talked their way inside. Inside they made a deal with the leader Gaydon. They got paper to pass the guard and went into the Undercity. Harry gave a few credits to a pair that stopped them at the elevator. Karth talked to a few people when Harry saw a man being chased by Rakghoul and saved the man. They walked around and found a soldier by one of the escape pods. Harry used the Force to heal the man, and when he ran into a group of Rakghouls Harry saved him again. Karth talked Ed to the soldier and he agreed to join them. He introduced himself as Davin Strike. They found another pod with Bastilla's lightsaber inside and Harry carried it for her. The three ran into a girl Nom. Ed mission vow and agreed to help her save her Wookiee friend Zalbar. In the sewers, a group of 30 Rakghoul attacked and Harry unleashed Force lightning to kill them. Karth became suspicious of Harry. I thought only the Sith used lightning. It takes emotion to use lightning, that's why the Jedi don't, but I will use an advantage to win. Harry was getting a bit annoyed at Karth's paranoia, but he explained anyway. Karth let it drop but was now suspicious again, and they four continued until they found the Wookiee. Zalbar swore Harry a life debt and with his weapon back proved a great fighter. Harry split his group to have the two soldiers and Zalbar to fight on the upper level of the gang's base. Harry and Mission went into the lower section to find the swoop accelerator. Harry felt that Mission had some strength in the Force and could be trained. She may never be a master, but she was powerful enough to fight with a saber. He offered her training and she quickly accepted. When Ari made it clear he was not one to follow the council's orders, she was even happier as she could stay with Zalbar. The two went through the base and collected two droids Harry programmed to help them. They returned to the top and found another droid before joining the group. He explained that he was collecting some droids to give fire support in fights. Harry gave Karth second in command and sent him with the group and droids to the apartment. Mission stayed with Harry and went to the Beck gang. Harry was asked to fly the swoop and he accepted. He spent the night starting Mission's training. He learned to meditate quickly and could feel the Force while doing so. They went to sleep and the next morning Harry flew a swoop in the race. With the accelerator he made the win with only 17 seconds. There was no competition and was declared winner. The Vulcar leader tried to withdraw Bastilla as a prize, and as she broke out of the cell, Harry threw Bastilla her saber. She caught the blade and ignited it. Harry drew his own and separated it into two. The attacked and Mission pulled a vibro blade and also attacked. With two Jedi the battle was short and Bastilla gave Harry a questioning look. Harry introduced Mission and Bastilla and led them to an empty apartment in the lower levels. He explained his growing up as Revan to Mission and the war. He then spoke of how after Malachor VHE returned to the war against the true Sith. He told them how he had contacted Malak to request more ships and Malak's betrayal. Bastilla was surprised but happy that Revan hadn't fallen, while Mission was shocked. He followed by telling of how he had awakened and the story he had told Karth. They agreed to stick with the story and not tell the others yet. Harry then told Bastilla that he was training Mission. They returned to the others and they began planning to get off the planet. 2 days later and another 4 droids added to Harry's collection. They were contacted by Canderous Ordo. Harry met him and agreed to his plan to enter the Sith base. He collected T3M4 and after the droid hacked the door, Bastilla, Mission, and Harry went into the base. They cleared out the opposition and collected another droid before going into the governor's room. The governor looked at them. Who would have though a Force sensitive could be found on this world? Harry spoke. I am a Jedi Master, she is a knight. He pointed at Bastilla. And she is my apprentice. He pointed at Mission. Do you really think that you can defeat us? I will kill you all, and when I do my master will surely reward me with a lightsaber. Harry looked at him like he was insane. He grabbed Bastilla's saber and tossed it to the man. Let's see how well you fight then. Harry attacked and the man ignited the dual saber. Harry took it easy on the man, and only when the man tried to attack Mission did Harry kill him. As Bastilla collected her saber and glared at him, Harry fell to the ground laughing. It took him 2 minutes to collect himself. He actually thought he could kill us. He paused to chuckle. Mission is better than he was. Mission grinned at this while Bastilla cracked a smile. They returned to the rest of their group. After Candaris met with them, they agreed to the final part of the plan. Harry took Bastilla and Mission with him again, and soon the three fought through Davik's base. They found the codes to the Aben Hawk and went to the hangar to steal the vessel. At the same time, Malik ordered his fleet to begin the attack. The group quickly killed Davik and Kalo Nord. The rest of the group arrived and ran into the ship. Karth and Bastilla went to the bridge to prepare the ship for takeoff. Davin and Candaris went to the tool room and stored Harry's swoop bike. T3M4 and Zalbar stayed in the maw in section while Mission went to the starboard crew room. Harry ordered his 10 war droids into the cargo bay and went to the bridge. Karth was launching and Bastilla programmed a course to Dantooine. Harry ran to the gun turret and opened fire on the Sith fighters, destroying them. Karth was a great pilot, managing to avoid the warships and not let the vessel get hit. Harry managed to destroy the enemy fighters quickly, and when a second wave arrived, he destroyed them all before a single fighter could return fire. They escaped into hyperspace before any interdictor cruisers could power up and eat a gravity well, stopping the ship's escape. The next week in hyperspace was spent with Harry training Mission and planning a story to give to the Jedi Council. They decided to say his two minds co-mbined and came up with the idea he was Harry Potter, a Jedi Knight that had trained with Revan. The two had the same style because they had both developed them, but when Revan left Malachor V, Harry had returned to the Republic. He had made it clear to tell them he followed the old code. Emotion, yet peace ignorance, yet knowledge passion, yet serenity chaos, yet harmony death, yet the Force. Rather than the new current code. There is no emotion, there is peace. There is no ignorance, there is knowledge, there is no passion, there is serenity, there is no chaos, there is harmony. There is no death, there is the Force. As well as the fact he didn't listen to the Council very often. They landed on Dantooine and Bastilla spoke to the Council while Harry took Mission into the courtyard to train Mission. Some Jedi started yelling at them. You there, Padawans, why are you not wearing the customary robes of the Jedi? Do you mock the honored traditions of our order? Shut up, I'm not a Padawan but a knight. And to hell with the honored traditions. If they were so honored we would all follow the old code. Now get out of my way, I am training my apprentice. Very well, I apologize for my yelling at you. My friend has recently turned to the dark side and turned, you say. Is she still on the planet? Yes, she is out by some old ruins. Mission, you stay here and wait for Bastilla. He'll fort the academy and blasting the doors open with a reducto when the droid refused to open them. Some Jedi got upset but Harry breezed past them. Harry met Juhani in the grove and talked to her. So you are the Jedi they talk of. Why do you disturb me in my place of power? She was aggressive yet seemed to not want to fight. If this is power I'm a god, but anyway I heard you don't get along with the Jedi. I was wondering why that was. I got angry and slew my master. I knew I could not go back so I came here. She was actually crying at this point. Why did you kill her? Harry asked quietly. She made me angry with her. She sobbed out. Do you wish to be a Jedi? Yes, I met a Jedi years ago who saved my life and I wasn't to become one ever since. She began to collect herself. As you. Our problem with the Jedi way because of the code. No, the code is fine. My anger just gets away from me from time to time, and now I can't go back. Damn, I had hoped you wanted emotions, Harry muttered. But anyway, I may not like the Council, but I know for a fact Malik could show up in front of them and beg for forgiveness and they would accept it. I'm soon going to talk to them, so if you wish to join me you may. Yes, I would like to go back with you. She began to smile now. Harry and Juhani returned and Mission was standing with Bastilla. Harry, the Council wishes to meet with you. Okay, let's go, you to Juhani. They walked into the Council and Harry spoke first. What's up, little man? After so long I thought you might have gotten a little taller. Vandar, Vrook still as stiff as ever. Knight Potter, I see that you have returned, are you well? Sure, bit of a problem getting off terrace, but got back and found Juhani. She wants to ask forgiveness. Very well, we will meet again in the morning with you. Sure, see you later, little man. Harry walked out smiling that he had gotten away with that. Bastilla was disapprovingly shaking her head while Mission laughed. Juhani stared. at him in shock, never thinking someone could be so disrespectful. Bastila bowed and walked after Harry. Mission spoke before leaving. "See you later, little man. Just so you know, Harry says he respects you a lot." This last comment deeply disturbed the council, as Harry had been very disrespectful, so how little did he respect the others. Harry glanced back and noticed that Master Vandar seemed to seatually smile and had those damn twinkly eyes that all ancient men seemed to gain. They were even worse than Dumbledore's. The Jedi Council then talked to Juhani. They had her explain what had happened and how Harry had helped her. She was very mistrustful of how Harry acted, but since the council let him get away with it, she could do nothing. When he was on board the Hawk, Harry fell to the deck, laughing at what he and Mission had said. The other two came on board and Bastila disappeared to meditate, and Mission told the others what had happened. Karth and Candaris, who had little respect for the Jedi attitude, both fell laughing as well. That night both Harry and Bastila shared a vision of what Malik had done. Bastila went to report immediately while Harry took Karth and Mission with him. They went into the ruins and found the star map and copied the whole thing. Karth went back to the ship while Harry and Mission went to train. 15 days later the two returned and Mission began to build a lightsaber. Harry had let Mission borrow a Jedi holocron to study from, so her training had gone much faster. Harry convinced Master Vandar to spar with him. Harry used a single-bladed saber that another Jedi let him borrow. When asked why he didn't use his own, Harry simply replied that it didn't have any setting to reduce the blade's power. That was the one thing that he had forgotten when he had built his perfect saber, was the power settings. The two went to the plains directly outside the Jedi enclave to spar. Many other Jedi came to witness the battle. Harry stood in a simple stance and waited for the attack. Vandar accepted that he would attack first and jumped into the air to attack from above. Harry blocked his attack and the two traded blows with one another. They both RPO raided several different force attacks into the battle, and everyone could see that Harry was powerful. Harry was forced to actually use most of his knowledge and skills to fight Vandar, and Vandar was also amazed at how powerful and knowledgeable his old student was. Vandar was reaching further into the Force using unknown techniques that Harry was able to combat easily, having researched them long ago. Harry was thankful for all the time he had battled the Sith, as it had prepared him well. Harry used several darker abilities and that seemed to release Vandar into doing the same. Vandar was on of the few Jedi still to use their emotions, having fought against Exar Kun himself. Vandar had learned that Jedi could use the darker techniques without turning, and for the first time in many years was able to use them in a fair fight. The two continued to fight until Harry managed to throw a small wandless spell at Vandar that stunned him. Since the magical stun was different from a force stun, Vandar didn't know how to block since his saber was locked with Harry's, and was hit. Harry awoke him and the two enjoyed talking about the techniques and both agreed that some Jedi should still follow the old code. Most would be from other species, as most humans and nearly human Jedi were unable to use the powers of the dark without turning. Most Jedi could handle the knowledge after a century or more of life, or coming through war learning what was necessary without turning. They both agreed that the skills should rarely be learned before that. While Harry didn't say it, he knew that he had come through a war before becoming a Jedi. He hadn't turned then, nor would he now. Harry had found several Mandalorians causing problems for the settlers on the planet and had fought their leader and told them who he was. He sent the group to Duxon and to tell any other Mandalorians that the new Mandalore had given orders. He wanted a new fleet prepared and soldiers to fight. The group he had found had agreed and began to follow his orders. Harry met with the council reporting what he had found and also that he was going after the other maps. The Jedi agreed with him and let him go on his way. The crew spent another week collecting supplies while Harry oversaw a mission building a lightsaber. When they left, Juhani had followed the council's order to join them. She spent most of her time in a small side room. Harry had also added 2 more droids into his army. The Aben Hawk lifted off of Dantooine to continue its journey. The first planet on the list was Tatooine. The planet a circa of. Fischl tried to charge them 100 credits docking fee. Harry, who hated Circa, tricked the man into believing they had overpaid and owed them 100 credits. Bastila disapproved, though a small smile could be seen. But Mission and Karth laughed. Harry went to the Circa office to get permission to exit Anchorhead City. He was given a Tusken Raider hunting license instead. Harry went to the droid shop and found his old droid HK-47. The droid reeked of the dark side, but Harry figured it was from killing Sith. Harry got his old droid for free by reactivating all functions. He also told the doctor his cover story before taking it back to the ship. Zalbar, Davin, and T3M4 were given the mission to protect the sandcrawler outside the city from Tusken raiders. Canderous, Karth, and HK-47W were told to go into Tusken territory and deal with the chief to end the attacks. Bastilla, Mission, and Juhani were to go into the deep desert where they suspected the star map was located. They were reminded to bring any gaffi sticks and damaged droids back to the ship. The droids to build up a small army and the gaffi sticks to get pay from Circa. Harry went out to begin looking around. He came across a woman trying to sell a wraith plate for 500 credits. He talked to her and learned that she and her children wanted to leave the planet and find another life. The plate was from her HUSB, Anne's last hunt, and she was forced to try to sell it for money. Since Harry had access to several million credits in different accounts across the galaxy, he told her to keep the plate and gave her 10,000 credits to get her off the planet and set up a new life. When she questioned why he would do this, Harry replied simply, "I'm a Jedi and I have too much money as it is. If it helps you and your children, then I am glad to give you money." Harry went into the cantina and found a woman that looked disturbingly like Bastilla. He walked over and talked to her for a while before asking if she knew a Bastilla. Helena told him that Bastilla was her daughter, and they spoke of why she had sent Bastilla to the Jedi. Harry remembered that Bastilla thought her mother hated her and told Helena of Bastilla's beliefs. He learned that Helena was sick and read her through the Force. "I was a magical disease from Earth. It slowly killed the body, and this was the first time Harry had found such a disease in the galaxy." Harry used a silent spell with his wand to heal her before saying he had healed her with the Force. Later on, Harry had Bastilla speak to Helena and the two had gotten along and became family. Helena was going to Coruscant, so Harry gave her a few thousand credits to allow her to make the trip. He also asked her to take a message to the Jedi Council that his mission was going fine and they were preparing for an eventual encounter with Malak. When Harry was walking around alone, he encountered a group of 3 dark Jedi. He fought and killed them quickly as they were very inexperienced. Harry collected the lightsabers and placed them in a secret compartment he had found in the Hawk. Harry went into the swoop registration, and when they didn't believe he won on Terrace, he offered to prove it with his scores. He completed the race in 18 seconds and told them it was a bit harder than on Terrace track. They believed him now since no one had beaten 21 seconds so far. It was as good that no one realized he was a Jedi, as that could be considered cheating. Harry continued out of the city and fought dozens of Tusken raiders. Before reaching the cave the star map was inside of, some guy named Comad tried to say that Harry had to help him lure a crate dragon out of the cave. Harry removed the mines and walked into the cave and fought the dragon with a lightsaber in one hand and a wand in the other. He used a reducto on both eyes and stabbed the dragon through the brain. He used spells to strip the skin and clean the area up. He found 20 dragon pearls in the stomach that he kept and copied the star map. He also grabbed a holocron of Bastilla's father to give to her later. When he walked out of the cave, he found Kalo Nord standing there with 20 men. Comad had been shot dead. "Hello Kalo, ready to die? I'll make sure that you can't come back this time. You have no chance to defeat me, Potter. I brought enough people with me to kill a Jedi Master." Quote, "But the true question is, did you bring enough people to destroy Revan once and for all? The true Sith couldn't, Malak couldn't, and the Jedi couldn't, so what makes you think you can? You were not Revan, he was killed by Malak on his ship." Quote, "That's what is believe. You should always search for the truth, not just the common belief." Harry shot several different spells and used his saber to block laser fire. The 20 men quickly fell under his attack, and he collected their blasters and armor to sell or give to his droids. Harry had gotten several droids on the planet and had an army of 20. He had placed armor on the droids and gave each 2 blasters. He worked on the programming on who to shoot and different strategies to win. He made sure they could work together or alone. Harry deprogrammed the droid's commander as HK-47 and continued to modify the droids. When Harry was bored, he went to work on the engines and upgraded it to work better than before. The hyperdrive was more powerful than before, and the sublight drive could work at higher temperatures. When the others returned, Harry took over 100 gaffi sticks as well as the chiefs to Circa, dropping them on the floor, and asked for his money. 2,000 credits richer, Harry returned to the Hawk and asked if they had any other business on the planet. Canderous wanted to go duel some dishonorable Mandalorian that had run from battle, and after he had been defeated, Harry asked the other Mandalorians if they were willing to fight for Mandalore, and when they said they were, he told them he was Revan. He had the helmet with him to prove it, and they instantly were ready to serve him. He told them to find any surviving Mandalorian warriors willing to fight to go to Duxon with any fighters or ships that had survived and wait for his call. Harry went back to the ship and explained his past to both Canderous and Juhani with Bastilla to tell them he wasn't lying. Harry spent the next week training Mission up to Bastilla's level. He then began to teach them both to be even better. Juhani had refused his training, not truly trusting him. Canderous, Karth, and Devon were all working on blaster and sword training together. They wanted to be prepared for any fight and were working together to become a true team. Harry suggested that they also work with Zalbar in their team. They went with it and found Zalbar had a good deal of knowledge fighting as well. HK-47 and T-3M4 were both given upgrades, and Harry had them work together with his 20 war droids. They performed low-power fight and learned dodging, shield use, and tactics for different enemies. HK also lead them on a hunting mission for any Tusken Raiders missed and brought Harry another 50 Gaffi sticks. Harry got the money for the M before ordering everyone back to the ship. The next destination was to be Manon. The following week was spent with preparing plans and tactics for different fights. Harry also used an expanding on the cargo hold and a notice me not on the expansion, not feeling like explaining it to anyone. Harry also was training himself to use his wand again since he hadn't in years. Harry tricked the Circa again into giving up credits. They walked out into a confrontation between a Republic and Sith trooper. Harry ended the fight and talked to the Republic trooper. What was that about exactly? All Sith do what they can legally to make the Republic troops get into trouble. What isn't legal? Fighting and killing are strictly forbidden while arguing is discouraged. I understand. Get everyone who wants revenge to meet me here in 1 hour. The trooper ran off. Harry turned around and went back to the ship and started to gather supplies from his trunk. Bastilla asked him to come out to the main section to talk. Juhani started, "Are you trying to get those men into trouble? If they get revenge they will be jailed and the Republic will lose its supply of colto. That is where you are wrong. First, how do you think I will let them get revenge? Knowing you, it will be killing them." Karth interrupted, "Harry isn't going around killing everyone, you know." Juhani barely stopped herself from saying Harry was Revan and thought of a different point. What about the army of droids he's building up? Harry answered, "We will take on Malak, who has an army. I'm just evening the odds a bit." "Well then, how can they get revenge?" "Wait outside the ship and Mission, could you bring the soldiers into the bay, please?" "Sure, Harry." Harry grabbed his box of pranks and walked out. "You want to make those Sith pay?" "Yes." "Then there is only one option you have." They cheer. "You will prank the hell out of them." That got confused looks and one asked, "What do you mean?" "Exactly what I said. These boxes are filled with items that will prank Sith troops. All you do is set them up across the city and take a picture of their faces when the prank is activated. Then you display pictures on the holonet to give Republic troops all over a good laugh. When the commanders see what is happening here, the troops will get into trouble and vengeance will be done." This got cheers and Harry showed them how to set the pranks. Across the city the pranks were set and soon pictures were being snapped of surprised Sith. When taken in for questioning, Harry simply said that nothing in Selkith law prohibited a prank war. The Selkith were forced to agree and began considering a new law. At the same time all Sith troops were returning to their embassy scared to leave. Hundreds of pranks were set directly outside the embassy door. It seemed that the Sith didn't like becoming canaries and be turned to different colors. Magic was useful, but it was becoming problematic for Harry to not reveal his powers. He always kept magic as a secret, only using it if he needed to. But for pranks he was willing to risk it. He was a marauder after all. Harry talked to Roland Wan, the Republic embassy leader. He was told if he wanted to go under the ocean to help destroy a droid Sith units had captured. Harry snuck into the embassy under disillusion charm and laid pranks throughout the Sith embassy. Harry soon had most of the Sith evacuate the base and went to destroy the droid. He found several Selkith Force sensitives being trained and healed one that was dying. He asked if they would like to become Jedi and they said yes. He called a local ship he had seen picking up colto for his bases and told them to pick the Selkith up. He continued on to kill the Sith Knight and his 2 apprentices. Harry picked up 5 droids in the base and reprogrammed them. Since he had access to the entire Sith base, he upgraded them fully before sending them to join his army. When he left, the Selkith arrested him. Inside the trial, Harry defended himself, "I don't see any problem. If the Sith didn't want to be pranked inside their embassy, why was it so easy to sneak inside?" The Sith officer spoke, "It's our embassy, not open territory. There wasn't any rules say I couldn't enter. So I did, and I pranked the hell out of you. Harry was released again because there was still no law against PR. Angson he went to the Republic Embassy and went to the secret Kolto facility. He stunned the insane Selkath and looked them in a room together before stunning the insane troops and mercs and bringing them to the bay. He found 4 droids in the base and reprogrammed them into his army. He ordered the droids to stun anyone besides himself. Harry went to the other building after stunning and bringing another survivor that had a suit back into the base. Harry sent prank spells at the Fixara that came close to him. The Fixara swam away from him at that point. Harry came into another building and was nearly suffocated by 2 survivors. He stunned them and reprogrammed their droid and apparated the 2 back to the droids and added the 5th. Harry went out to find the Kolto harvester and shut it down, and when a giant Fixara came at him he sent prank spells that made it leave. He finally reached the star map and copied the information. He returned to the surface with the survivors and he had shrunken the droids to fur in his pocket. Once again he was arrested and this time taken directly to the court. What is your excuse this time, Jedi? I went down to a secret Republic Selkath fossil. ITY being built to process more Kolto and save the survivors. They are in the embassy being treated. The Selkath were stunned and the Republic is going to pick them up for you. They went insane, just so you know. I then went outside into the water and pranked the Fixara before shutting down the harvester. A giant Fixara attacked, but I was able to prank it until it left me alone. I was too dangerous for it to handle. I found the ancient artifact I searched for and returned to be arrested. I also know that there is no law to prohibit the pranking of Fixara or rescuing survivors. As I killed no one, you have no case against me. You said that there was a giant Fixara. Yes, I figure that it could be what creates the Kolto, seeing how Kolto can't come from nothing, so I couldn't kill it, not that I'd want to. It is a wonderful creature. Thank you for this information and I beg you to stop pranking everything you can. Don't worry, I see no reason to continue. I had my fun and am soon leaving. Thank you. We greatly appreciate it. Harry left and went back to the Hawk where he resized his droids. Harry asked Davin, Zalbar and Karth to come with him and explained his history to them. Davin didn't take long to convince and Zalbar didn't care, but Karth was hard to convince. Karth thought back to how long they worked together and realized it was Revan all along and Revan was Harry. He was fine with it by the time the talk ended. Juhani was finally coming around to the idea that Revan wasn't evil. He now had 30 droids to use and went to bridge. They left Manon and headed for their 3rd planet Kashyyyk. The next several days Harry spent a great deal of time alone preparing potions and making the elixir of life with the Philosopher's Stone. Harry caped the vials and put other potions into explosives. Harry had to laugh as he saw news on the holonet that the Selkath had passed a new law against pranking of any kind. The report also mentioned that an insane Jedi W. as the cause of the new law and that most of the Sith on the planet had been seen sending transfer requests to get away from the planet. Once they landed, Harry tricked another Circa officer to pay him and soon walked into Wookiee territory. Zalbar had left knowing that he would be captured and Harry had promised to save him. He came across a group of Wookiees being attacked and dropped the attacking Circa in a second flat. The Wookiees escorted Harry to Chief Chundar, who was Zalbar's brother. Chundar, though he could order Harry to go kill Freyr, who was Zalbar's father. Harry went along with it for now and on his way came across a droid he reprogrammed and sent to the ship. Harry went to the Shadowlands and fought Darth Bandon, Malak's apprentice, and 3 other Dark Jedi. Harry killed them all before meeting up with Jolee Bindo and talking to him. At Jolie's request, Harry used the Force to persuade the Circa guards to leave the Shadowlands. Harry felt vindictive and ordered the Sea Amander to fall off the platform halfway to the top. Jolee led Harry into the deeper forest and soon came across a Wookiee being attacked. Harry scared the Mandalorians away and healed the Wookiee. Harry walked until he came across swoop bikes and activated a homing signal. 20 Mandalorians appeared and Harry spoke, "Who is the leader?" One man stepped forward. "I am." "Then prepare to die." Harry attacked the man and quickly killed him. He turned to the others. "I am Revan, your new Mandalore. I order you to go to Duxon to join with the others. Tell other Mandalorians to come with any ships or fighters that survive. There is a war coming." The others left to follow his commands while Harry returned to the Wookiee. The leader is dear, here is his head. Harry threw the head on the ground and walked away. He came across Freyr and was forced to fight a Turentatic to retrieve some ceremonial sword's blade. The battle was fun and the Turentatic took time to kill. Harry continued on to retrieve the star map. When the program refused him access, Harry blew the machine apart and the star map opened. Harry copied the coordinates and left. Upon returning to the platform, Harry went to Chundar and led a revolution. Freyr was left in charge while Harry helped remove Ursurka from the planet. Harry told Bastilla, Mission, Juhani, and Jolie to go into the lower Shadowlands to train as a team. Karth, Davin, Zalbar, and Candaris went to the upper Shadowlands, and Harry went into a different area of the Shadowlands that was untouched even by the Wookiees. The following 3 weeks were and training them for battle and teamwork. Harry had used his holocrons to access even higher levels of knowledge, including the Sith Thought Bomb, which would destroy the body and trap the soul of any living creature. This was a true dark power, and Harry would only use it as a last resort. Harry received a vision of an attack on Dantooine to destroy the Jedi. He contacted Vandar and told him to gather the Jedi and leave for Coruscant. Vandar agreed, and 2 days later received word that evacuation was complete. The attack came the next day, destroying the Academy, erasing any doubt in the Council's mind that Harry was a Sith Lord. The crew finally left for the last planet, Korriban. In the middle of the flight, a gravity well pulled the Hawk from hyperspace. The ship was soon pulled into the Leviathan's Bay, and the crew was told to surrender. Harry told them to act like they were surrendering until he did otherwise. The Jedi team walked out, followed by Karth's team. Harry told HK-47 to go next, and 33 droids walked out. Harry finally exited and walked up to Admiral Kareth. Hello, Admiral. Are you prepared to surrender? Me surrender. I am Revan, I never surrender. Harry SP. Oak, in a voice that conveyed his disbelief. Revan died by Malik's command. He failed and I lived. Surrender or die, Admiral Kareth. The Aben Hawk crew brought their weapons up. Malik will destroy you. Kill them. Harry ended the Admiral's life, and soon every Sith was dead. Harry ran to the bridge and deactivated the gravity well. He also set the self-destruct for 4 minutes and ran. The 2 droids he had found were already at the ship, and the entire crew was on board. Harry ran on and shouted, "Go!" The Hawk lifted off and jumped to hyperspace as Malik's shuttle came into view. The Leviathan exploded, taking the command ship of Malik's fleet. The journey to Korriban continued, and soon they landed. Harry had gone alone into the Academy and found Dustil Onasi, who he talked to for a while. Dustil was convinced to join Harry but would continue using both sides of the Force. Kel Alguin was also easily convinced to leave the Sith and joined Harry. He rescued a Mandalorian who had been captured and sent him to Duxon. Harry also found out about a Rouge droid and snuck in to talk to it. The droid wanted to shut down its assassin programming, and Harry reprogrammed the droid with the same type of personality as HK-47. The droid took its army of 27 droids, all with new programming, and joined the Aben Hawk. The assassin droid, renamed AD-1, was assigned to work with HK-47. Harry found a group of renegade students who he rescued from a Tarentatic. Harry ordered one of his ships to pick the students up and take them to his academy. Harry had gotten close to Uthuraban and AF. Tear finding the star map, he killed Master Uthar and convinced Uthura to join his crew. The 3 new recruits were now called the Sith Team, who managed to get along with both the Jedi and shooting teams. The 3 droids now had a small army of 50 following them. Harry was now leading 11 people and 53 droids and managing to avoid questions of how they all fit on one small vessel. As a going-away gift, Harry detonated magic-enhanced bombs in all 4 tombs, the cave, and the academy itself as the Aben Hawk left. They went to the coordinates the star map indicated and found the Star Forge. After a short battle, the Hawk crashed on a nearby planet and the crew was forced to search for parts. Harry broke into the temple that was filled with Sith. He fought his way through and turned off the energy field around the forge. He then left another magic-enhanced bomb just for the temple. As he was walking calmly away, he pressed a small button on his communicator and the temple exploded. Soon the Aben Hawk was off to fight Malik himself. On the Star Forge, Malik received the report of the temple's destruction and killed the officer that brought the report. They will be killed for this. Commander, prepare the station for intruders and kill them all. Defeating the Sith. Disclaimer: I do not own any Star Wars or Harry Potter books, movies, and games. Note: First attempted story. Chapter 4. Karth received a communication from Admiral Dodonna informing the crew that the Republic fleet had arrived. Harry asked Master Vandar to send Jedi to escort the Aben Hawk to the forge. Once they were on the forge, Harry and the rest of the crew went out and met the 12 Jedi. Okay, the plan is this. HK-47 will lead the droids out and down. I want the lower levels overtaken after you are finished. Return to the Hawk. Jedi, Sith teams are to head up the levels, clearing out any enemies. Shooter team will give them fire support. Jedi that Master Vandar sent, you are to hold this level and keep the ship safe. I will go confront Malak personally. Everyone confirmed their orders and went to it. HK went first, followed by the Jedi to clear the level. Harry then told the others to go. Harry walked through the Star Forge and only had to fend off a few attacks. He found a special feature on the forge to create specialized clothing and gave the machine dragon, basilisk, and crate dragon skin as well as some mithril. The returned clothes were very comfortable and had mithril interspersed throughout to give the maximum shielding. Harry also added special runes when asked for an Y symbols, and he also gained a nice mask. The mask was solid black with a green visor to see from that also allowed infrared vision and night vision. He put the clothes on before continuing his journey. On one level he actually had to clear out a large amount of droids that were being built. On another level Harry was forced to deal with a large number of security and they were well trained. He defeated them and continued on to the control room where Sith officers were controlling weapons, droids, and fleet production. Harry attacked them, and when he left the room the Republic and other parties were suddenly under less fire. Droids were no longer produced and no reinforcements were being sent into battle. Harry finally reached the command level and met Malak. "Hello Malak, how's it going? What happened to the jaw? Oh wait, was that the Mandalorians when you were captured? You were weak then and you still are." Malak's eyes showed surprise but he kept his voice calm. "Revan, you survived. Of course. Did you really think that I would be defeated so easily? I needed to make you pay for convincing the galaxy I was a Sith Lord. I don't appreciate that considering I have spent the last several years fighting the original Sith." Harry kept talking with a light and humorous attitude to annoy Malak. "You have been the one fighting them and causing all their problems." "Oh yes, they had plans to take over the galaxy. I have fought them and have thousands of Jedi and troops under my command. We are fighting to save the galaxy while you try to destroy it. I told you to defend the Republic when I left, not turn on it. But it was so much easier to take over when I found this station. I was able to build a fleet and send them to battle. I needed to say you were leader since you had disappeared. I cannot be defeated. That's where you are wrong. I will kill you for this and destroy your station. If you were so great you would already have won. You were a horrible commander." Mala. K drew his lightsaber and Harry brought his into a protective stance. Malak threw lightning and when Harry's saber absorbed the blast he seemed surprised. Harry attacked and began using second form. The sabers clashed together and Malak jumped back to disengage. Harry used the moment to split his saber into two and began using his quick style as he flung himself back into the fight. He was able to hit at Malak fast enough that Malak, though he had 4 sabers instead of 2. Malak soon had several burns on his armor and lost a good portion of his metal jaw. Malak dropped into force rage and charged at Harry. Harry threw a telekinetic blast slowing Malak down and sliced through one of Malak's arms. Malak was lost in pain for a moment, but it was quickly turned to anger as he attacked again. Malak swung his saber in a flurry of attacks that Harry was forced to fight at his best against. Harry was soon on the offensive again and attacked Malak until he had destroyed Malak's lightsaber. Malak backed away and before Harry could do anything a man came out of the shadows. "You have failed, Jedi. You are weak and will die for your incompetence." The man sent a massive force drain in Malak as held above the deck as his energy was stolen. When Malak died he was dropped to the deck and the man turned to Harry. "So you are the one causing all our problems. You may be powerful, but even you cannot hope to defeat 20 Sith Masters." 20 men walked out of the shadows surrounding Harry. "I am the Dark Lord of the Sith, the Emperor of our great empire. You cannot hope to defeat me or my men. You are powerless compared to our might." Harry was afraid as he knew that he had little chance of defeating so many true Sith Masters. He thought of any ability he had, technological, magical, of force power, to fight them. He finally thought of his one chance and with resolve in his voice spoke. "I may die today, but I refuse to let you and your men defeat me. If you live the galaxy shall die by your hand. I refuse to let that happen. You have no way to defeat us. Even now I am blocking the firepower of the Republic fleet from even touching this station. We will use this station's power to reach further than we ever thought possible. We will go beyond the galactic rim and search out other life forms. We will be able to send fleets to other galaxies and overtake them. You Jedi have no way to stop us." The Emperor stopped and looked at Harry for a moment. "I sense great power in you. Power that we could teach you to release. You could be great if you join us. You lead a far new MBER of people and Jedi and know this galaxy. If you join me I will make you second in command, only answering to me." What say you, Jedi or Sith, dark or light? I am Jedi, I use both the dark and the light to fight. I will destroy you. So be it, Jedi, kill him. It was obvious the Emperor was angered by the rejection and wanted Harry in pain. As the other Sith raised lightsabers and began to pull their force power into an attack, Harry focused his power into creating a tiny light in front of himself. Harry used his Phoenix powers to flame back behind the doors and let the tiny light explode. Ari had unleashed the power of the thought bomb, something that even most Sith Lords feared to use. The bomb took a great deal of power to control and most users needed a ritual of several masters to power it. Few users were able to escape the radius of its blast, being too drained to move or not having any extra force power to propel them away. Harry fortunately had magic to use. The control room, filled with light as the bomb exploded. No physical damage was done, but the bodies of the Sith and Malak were vaporized. The force pulled everything back into the tiny hole trying to fill the gap. And the souls of the Sith were forever trapped. Without the Emperor blocking the Republic, lasers hit the Star Forge and Harry could feel the station yelling out in pain as it died. He yelled into is comm link for everyone to return to the ships. HK-47, T3M4, Dustil Onasi, Karth Onasi, Zalbar, Canderous Ordo, Mission Vow, Juhani, Bastilla Shan, Jolie Bindo and Harry, Revan, Potter were the only survivors. The others had all been killed in the fighting, and the Jedi that Master Vandar had sent had left the level to fight Malak themselves. They had been killed by the Forge's droids. Uthura Ban, Davin Strike, and Kel Alguin had all been cut down by the Dark Jedi on the station. The assassin droid and the droid army had fallen, taking out many of the other personnel on the station. The Hawk flew out of the hangar and headed away from the station as fast as possible. The Republic fleet continued to fire until the Forge was destroyed. The Hawk was asked to land on the Hope, the command ship. The crew walked out of the ship and received cheers. Admiral Dodonna asked them to come into a meeting room. I would like to thank you all for your service to the Republic. We would not have survived had you not found the Star Forge. We wanted to know what you were planning on doing now. Karth spoke first. I will be staying with the Republic fleet and plan to become an admiral eventually. Mission and Zalbar both said they'd stay with Harry. Bastilla spoke next. I stay with Harry as I always should have. Canderous was the next to speak. I will return to my people and await Mandalore's call to arms. Dodonna spoke. But Revan killed Mandalore, and in doing so became Mandalore himself. Only he can name a successor, or whoever kills him as the next. Then Malak would have become Mandalore. Harry interrupted. Malak never killed me. As you can see, I am perfectly healthy. Vandar looked at him intently. Then you remember your past. Failed the Jedi have then. Will you return to hunting us down? I never went dark. During the war, one found a new threat in the unknown regions. I fought for over a year with them before attacking their academy at Malachor V. I tasked Malak to protect the Republic, sent Stephanie back to the Jedi to receive help, and asked Bastilla to remain with the Jedi for the time. I returned to the war and only came back to get more ships. I asked Malak for them and he told me to meet him above Telos. I came out of hyperspace and was confused when the Jedi boarded my ship and Malak attacked. Bastilla saved me and returned me to the Jedi Council. They gave me a new mind and sent me on my way. On the Endar Spire my mind realized my body was healed and returned to consciousness. I discovered another mind in my head and destroyed it, fearing what was happening. I worked with my current crew to defeat Malak and his fleet. I found the Emperor of the Sith and his 20 top advisors on that station and killed them. You most likely would have felt an extreme burst of dark side power, and then the force seemed to be pulled toward it. Yes, all the Jedi have reported that feeling as I did. That was a thought bomb, originally a Sith design that I researched. I was forced to use it to kill them. The galaxy has a much better chance of surviving now. I would request more Jedi to join me as well as any ships the Republic can spare. Any Jedi that wishes may help you. You may contact them yourself. The Republic cannot afford to lose any ships, so I offer you the 30 vessels that surrendered during the battle. Many crews only wished to defend their families, so I will allow them to go with you if they wish. I will also send 5 of my ships with you. I know that it is not many, however that is already more than we can afford. Thank you, Admiral. Canderous, go to Duxon and tell your people to prepare for war. Strengthen them, and when you feel the time is right, join me. Bastilla, contact the Jedi that wish to join me. Juhani, Jolie, I feel a dark time coming. I think that a group will attack the remaining Jedi. You two should begin a secret academy hidden even from the other Jedi on a remote planet. We can do that. You had better come back though. I will. But for now I need to prepare my new fleet to leave. Revan, we will be unable to convince the rest of the Republic of your innocence. You will not be able to come back. Quote, when I return it will be as Harry Potter, hero of the Republic, not General Revan who became a Sith Lord. I understand what will happen and I am fine by that. That is why every leader needs a second identity. Dustil Onasi took several minutes before answering the question. I will go with Harry to fight, he will need all the help he can get, but I promise I will return, father. We will get to know each other again. Vandar spoke. Revan, I am glad that you did not fall. If you had fallen, I fear that we would not have lasted long in war. You were always a much better tactician than Malik. For you to use the dark side of the Force is a terrible thought. I do use the dark side. I just control it instead of being controlled by it. The dark and light have their uses and a true Jedi brings balance to the Force. By choosing only one side you destroy the balance and the Sith are doing the same. The most powerful Jedi will always be those that understand this truth. I will think on what you have said. Farewell, Revan. May the Force be with you. Harry spent the following week talking to the commanders of his new ship. He explained the situation and they agreed to go. The ships were repaired and loaded with as many other troops and supplies as possible. Harry returned to his fleet with 50 starships and several hundred fighters. His fleet had repelled several small attacks in the year he was away, but had otherwise just grown. Several new starships had been completed and a nice-sized army had been trained. For the death of their emperor, the Sith had decided to destroy Revan and his fleet. A large armada was coming and Harry, as he was now used to being called, was forced to prepare a new defense. Almost every starship was brought to the site of the battle. Harry's new command ship Victory was filled with every trained Jedi he had. Harry had over 3,000 Jedi focus on the task of battle meditation against the Sith. He had convinced 20 masters to use the ability to instead take control of enemy troops. He had the other masters block the Sith from doing the same to them. The battle began and every so often a Sith fighter would crash into a vulnerable engine or bridge of a warship. The Sith were highly uncoordinated thanks to the Jedi and many fighters were destroyed from the pilot's mistakes. The Republic warships were soon in fire range and found that our firepower was coordinated enough that over 20 shots hit within a meter of each other, heavily damaging the enemy ships. Harry himself was focusing on fighting the minds of the Sith Lords in command. Harry found a Sith apprentice coming up to a master with a report. He dove into the man's mind and took control of the body. He withdrew a lightsaber and killed the Sith Lord and attacked another. With his knowledge of fighting he was able to kill another before the apprentice was cut down. However, when the Sith Lords turned back to the battle they found that their fleet was being wiped out without their assistance. On a nearby corvette the pilot suddenly lost control of his mind and piloted his ship into his own command ship. The Sith warship was not destroyed, but the heavy damage rendered the vessel inoperable. Over half of the Sith Lords in the fleet were killed in that attack. Harry continued searching for useful mines and found a security officer outside one ship's bridge. He looked over that mine and walked onto the bridge firing at the command crew. He had taken out over 10 before someone shot the man. Harry may have found the ability disturbing, but at times he was willing to compromise his morality to save his men. One Sith fighter made it through Republic lines and crashed into the Victory's bridge near the rear. The people near the explosion were killed instantly. While several others were sucked out into space. Harry was nearly killed as well, except he had been focused on the bridge of another Sith vessel. With his body suddenly flying towards open space, Harry apparated to the bridge of the vessel and found that he was looking at a surprised Sith Lord. Harry overcame his surprise quickly and killed the man before attacking the crew. He took over the bridge and sealed the door. He found a nice option in the computer to open the rest of the vessel to space if the enemy was overtaking the ship. The Sith didn't think anyone could start on the bridge apparently. Of course Harry had never considered it possible before either. Harry pressed the control and soon he was the only survivor on the ship. He moved the ship out of combat and contacted his fleet. This is General Revan on the Sith ship. He looked at the name and couldn't even pronounce it. Let's call it the Trickster. I have commandeered the vessel. Do not fire on me. Authorization code. Alpha 378 Beta 192,584,358 Delta 689,305 Hogwarts. Understood, sir. We are sending fighters to escort you. Harry waited for the fighters and then turned the ship to take out another cruiser. He came INTO firing range and opened up with everything he had. He continued firing until he destroyed the vessel. The ship was now being fired upon, so he aimed a direct course at a second cruiser and set the guns to fire on nearby Sith vessels. Harry found that the Sith Lord had a personal fighter stored below the command deck and let air into the room before running for it. Harry launched the fighter as the trickster crashed into the second cruiser. He found that he was controlling a very powerful fight and was able to reach his escort. He signaled them that it was him and then led them back to the Republic fleet. Having lost over 30 starships to sabotage by the Jedi and over 200 already destroyed fighting the Republic fleet, the Sith were beginning to retreat. Many other vessels were destroyed in the retreat, and soon it was just the Republic. Harry had any salvageable vessels taken and saved as many of his people as he could. He also honored several ships that had been lost in the battle. He gave a special commemoration to the Republic cruiser Trickster for hosting the fleet commander and destroying 3 cruisers in the process of its one destruction. The other commanders AC. Tully liked that joke and agreed it needed the commemoration. The fleet was fortunate to lose no Jedi and only a 73 vessels total. Over the next 3 years Harry continued to lead the war effort to the point only one planet remained in the possession of the Sith. This was when Stephanie Katarn arrived with the Aben Hawk. The ship had been lost several years ago with both HK-47 and T-3M4 with a small crew. Harry was happy to see both the droids and his old friend again. Harry was surprised to see Canderous with the ship's crew as well and learned that the Mandalorian fleet would join them soon. Stephanie told him about the destruction of the Jedi and the war she had just won. Revan was upset about the fact the Republic couldn't get a break, but was glad the fleet could soon return. She told him of Krea's fall to the dark side and was not nearly as surprised as he expected to be. He was hurt, but his old master had always enjoyed discovering ancient Sith knowledge. The 2W, Air sitting in a room alone talking about what all had happened since they had parted. So what led you to come join me? Krea mentioned that you were out here fighting the Sith with the last of the Jedi. As the Jedi had fallen in the rest of the galaxy either killed, turned, or gave up, I had to come. The surviving council members tried to destroy my connection to the Force again. Krea saved me and killed them, but they were no longer the people I remembered. They acted like the war was my fault and I would destroy the Force. What? While you can weaken or remove the Force in one area, nothing can totally destroy the Force. The very idea shows that they were no longer Jedi. Exactly, when Krea told me you were leading the last of the Jedi out here, I had to come find you. You came at a good time as only one planet remains to be destroyed. There are thousands of Jedi with me and most of them took apprentices over the last 6 years. The oldest only being 10, but soon we are going to come back. Also there should be a small academy remaining that I asked 2 of my friends to set up. I felt several years ago something was soon to happen, but I hadn't suspected complete eradication. I wish you could have helped me all this time. I missed you a lot. Bastilla I got to see after only 2 years, but you just disappeared. I had expected to see you during the war fighting Malak even without the Force. I had left after the Jedi exiled me. I went into the Outer Rim and barely knew that a war was happening. I had to relearn my entire past once I found Krea. She led me back to becoming a Jedi and then turned out to be a Sith. I didn't know what to do at first until I remembered the promise I made to you. I would always use my powers to help others and would not fall. It was a struggle, but I would think of you. When I heard you had fallen to darkness, I never truly believed it. I thought they were all mistaken and it turns out they were. I am glad I came to find you. I couldn't have survived without my memory of you, so now life seems so much easier to live. The next week was planning the last battle and they soon attacked. Having few starships left, the planet was surrounded by weapon platforms and mines that the Republic fleet had to blast out of its way. Thankfully the Mandalorian fleet was able to reinforce them during the attack. Soon they surrounded the planet, and everyone could feel the dark side's power, even non-Force sensitives. The planet was so corrupted in darkness that Harry could only order its destruction. The planet burned, fires consumed every living being and consumed the oxygen across the planet. The bombardment continued as Harry wanted nothing on the planet. The fleet continued to fire until the entire surface of the planet was molten rock before stopping their guns. The planet's location was erased from the computers and forgotten by all but Harry. Over 1,000 years would go by until it would be rediscovered and named Mustafar. The entire fleet returned to their bases. The Jedi Academy was closed and the other bases were left operating for the Republic. Harry left a small fleet of ships before setting course for Coruscant. 3 weeks later the fleet dropped out of hyperspace and demands for their fleet to leave were suddenly heard. Supreme Chancellor Tranilla sent a message demanding to speak to the commander of the fleet. Harry opened a channel to talk. "This is Harry Potter of the Jedi. We are a Republic fleet from the Mandalorian Wars. We have been fighting the Empire that was behind the last 3 wars the Republic has fought and have defeated them. I turn command of this fleet over to Republic Command, and as we the Jedi have returned, the Jedi Temple will be refilled. Thank you, we are glad to have the Jedi Order return to us. I will send the logs for our fleet to you, and I will warn you that they will be incomplete no matter who you ask. Some things we found out there need to be forgotten and others shouldn't be revisited. I am the Supreme Chancellor and I expect full reports." I said no, I do not want to risk another war. The knowledge must be forgotten. We were fighting the original Sith, Chancellor. They had powers that the Jedi Council had no knowledge of and methods of. Torture were far beyond what should ever be known. They had over 1,000 years for their knowledge of the Force to deepen, and you've seen the results of their past teachings being learned. The last 2 wars were because of that knowledge. Very well, Master Jedi, I will trust you with this. Dustil Onasi was finally able to go to his dad. Karth had made Admiral and was stationed on Telos. They got to know each other and Dustil soon started the Telos Jedi Academy. He lived to the age of 80 before dying from wounds taken in the Sith War. Karth had lived to see grandchildren before he had passed away, happy having Bastilla and Harry with him. Jolie had died protecting the knowledge of a hidden enclave for the Jedi. It had taken weeks for Darth Nihilus to grow tired of the man's constant stories and was killed. Juhani had led the enclave on the planet Alderaan in complete secrecy. She lived to Biko, me a council member, and lived for over 100 years. T3M4 had remained on the Aben Hawk and had helped hunting down Dark Jedi over the years. Both he and the Hawk were destroyed in battle with a Dark Jedi who still had a warship. Both ship and droid had received over 5 Republic commendations and medals. This was a record by far. Canderous was able to lead his people into power. He had them stay away from fighting as a group and had left a tradition of individuals support wars. The Mandalorian people take no sides. This mandate was followed for thousands of years. Zalbar went on to become chief of his village. He helped the tribes to work together to prevent much of the slave trade coming to Kashyyyk. Most Wookiees were safe unless they went off-planet, as only a few traders were willing to take Wookiees from their homes. Bastilla and Mission lived for many years on the Jedi Council before they each passed away. They were of the few Jedi to truly become one with the Force. They had lived through several wars and trials and lived a happy life, even going so far to have children. Their families were powerful, and for many generations the family remained Jedi. Steph stuck with Harry. They would visit the other from time to time and watch over the Jedi and the Republic, but they stayed away mostly. Harry traveled the galaxy far and wide over the years, learning that it was fun not to be responsible for only war. Steph was the only person that Harry told his full past of growing up a wizard. She had been amazed by the story and suggested that Harry attempt the spell that had sent him here. She died at 300, having used Harry's Philosopher's Stone to live. The two of them had started a prank war on Coruscant that had lasted for years. It took over 1,000 years for it to be forgotten, only being mentioned in legends. Harry had loved her and married her, but she was unable to have any children since being wounded in battle. HK-47 had been repaired and remained with Harry at all times. He had learned not to be as bloodthirsty over the years. He had remained a loyal friend for over 100 years when he had sacrificed his life to save Steph. Harry had kept his body and his circuitry, hoping to someday revive his old friend. The Jedi Order grew powerful and Harry watched over it for many years, removing several Dark Jedi before they could become a threat. The Republic itself recovered from the wars and went on to bring new planets into the fold. Technology in the Republic increased in some areas like shields, while armor was nearly forgotten. Harry had kept his 3 sets of armor and commonly wore the set the Star Forge had produced. The forge had given the material for greater blocking ability than it should have, and the runes Harry had included into IT's design negated most force powers used on it. Since Steph had died, Harry had considered creating another vortex and hoping to go home. In the worst-case scenario he would fail, so Harry finally went through with it. Goodbye, old friends. I hope you can keep the galaxy running without me. Harry spoke the spell and a vortex was formed. He had placed his lightsaber, mask and other possessions into his old trunk. He kept his armor on as it contained resizing runes and stepped through the vortex. He could feel his body being de-aged by many years and seemed to stop around age 15. He stepped out of the other side of the vortex and found himself near a battle and lightsabers were active. He had failed to go home, but since the Jedi were here he would at least be able to help them. Weakness of the Jedi. Disclaimer: I do not own any Star Wars or Harry Potter books, movies, and games. Note: first attempted story. Chapter 5. Harry saw that the battle ended and the people were moving his way. He quickly opened his trunk and pulled his lightsaber and mask out. He clipped the saber onto his belt and put the mask into a pocket for the time being. As the people passed by the alcove he was in, he stepped out to ask where he was. A young security officer saw his movement and pulled a blaster out and fired. Harry drew and activated his saber in time to deflect the shot away from him as the others turned toward him. "Hello, how are you on this fine day?" The older Jedi spoke. "Who are you and what are you doing here?" "I'm Harry Potter and I was attempting to make it home, however I ended up on this planet instead." The younger Jedi asked the next question: "Why do you have a lightsaber?" Harry looked at him like he was an idiot. "Well, obviously I'm a Jedi. You can feel the Force pulsing off of me, can't you? It's not filled with anger like a dark Jedi or the rage of a Sith, is it? You could also be polite and introduce yourselves." "Oh, you with the blaster, common rule of fighting, look then shot, not the other way around. The only exception is if they shoot first. I apologize, I am Qui-Gon Jinn, my apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi, and these are Queen Amidala and escorts. Now, we should continue. You may accompany us to Coruscant if you wish." Sure, got nothing else to do. The group traveled on until they reached the hangar. They attacked a group of droids guarding the pilots. Rai was surprised the Jedi only seemed to use their lightsabers, and even that was unskillfully. They used no force powers to assist in the fight. They then boarded the ship. During the escape the ship was damaged and only one of the repaired droids was able to survive. The ship jumped to hyperspace. Harry walked around for a while and ran into a girl cleaning the droid. "Hello, how's it going?" She jumped the sound of his voice. "You are a Jedi, are you not?" "Yes I am, but you may call me Harry." "Okay Harry, I'm Padme. I'm cleaning up our little savior. So Padme, should I address you as your Highness when you are all dressed up or not?" She was startled and her voice showed it. "What do you mean by that? You were the queen and that was your bodyguard. Good likeness, she carries herself well, and even sounds like you, however. She does not have the sense of a leader to her." Now she was becoming confused. "What do you mean sense? I have known many politicians and royalty and they all carrying a sense of leadership in the Force. While I can sense the sadness of your people's deaths in her, she does not carry the weight of guilt that you do for allowing it to happen. So all Jedi will know that I am the queen." "I am unsure. The two Jedi with you both seem weaker than the Jedi once were. They do not carry the weight of fighting wars, and even their fighting tactics were weak. They only seem to know a few tricks with the Force and use their sabers to do the rest." "I am unsure what this means though. What do you mean by they are weaker than they once were?" "This will be hard for you to believe and I ask that you not tell others of this." "I can do that. I am a Jedi from the past. I traveled here through a vortex of the Force and can easily tell that your technology is superior in many respects to my own. I have fought through several wars so I know what I'm talking about." Her voice was full of disbelief. "But you were around my age. So how could you have fought through wars?" "Part of the method of travel to age is the body. The first time I went through one I was de-aged to a toddler. This is the second time and now I'm around 15. That seems unlikely. I know. The last person I told only believed me because of how many years we had traveled together. So I doubt you will believe me at least until you see me fight." The two continued talking in Ari learned that it had been almost 4,000 years since he had left. Eventually a strange person named Jar Jar Binks came into the room and started to talk to them. Harry found the guy extreme Why annoying and decided to prank the Gungan. The ship was unfortunately delayed by a leaking hyperdrive and they were forced to land on Tatooine. The planet had not changed since Harry had last visited and he traveled to the nearby casino to gamble. Harry had hidden his saber so that no one would accuse him of cheating, and after selling a set of Mandalorian armor he had enough money to play. He spent the next 2 days playing, and would win and lose. He refused to use his powers, but was still lucky enough to win over 10,000 credits. He traveled around and found a Jawa selling old droids. Qui-Gon Jinn is the most idiotic Jedi ever. Who the hell gambles an entire ship on a pod race and doesn't even keep the extra cash? He didn't even check out the other stores and just accepted that is Targaryen saying no one else has the part. Any good seller says that to make a customer believe that is the case, but does he go to the other stores? No, of course not. No businessman would lie to him without his knowing. Using the Force on Targaryen's is as difficult as a hut. Harry was ranting on the ship when he heard what Keegan had done. He had bet the entire ship on a pod race that a kid who had never won was doing. Obi-Wan was ready to kill Harry for saying that, but was extremely happy when Harry locked himself in a room only going out for some type of parts. Harry decided to show him a true racer's skill and use the money he had won to upgrade his swoop with new technology. The old accelerator was still an unused design, and with the new more powerful engines was still able to make the vehicle fly faster. The new races didn't use accelerator pads, so Harry added powerful engines onto the sides of the swoop to gain the speed that way. He snuck the swoop out and set it up to launch from a side cliff to cut into the race. On the day of the race, Harry waited for the pod racers to begin. The moment the race began, Harry began his engine. The swoop flew over the side of the CLIFF and got into the middle of the race, and Harry was lazily flying back and forth between the racers. In the stands, the crowd cheered at the newcomer and saw him easily beating the other racers. As he was not an actual racer, he was having side bets placed on whether or not he would win. The second round was spent easily flying out just in front of the other racers, and by the third round, only Anakin and Sebulba were behind him. When it was only Anakin left, Harry pressed the engines to full power and went easily twice as fast as before. Rather than complete the race, Harry returned to the ship and reloaded the swoop in his trunk. Harry downloaded a recording of the race onto a pad before walking into the main area on the ship. He handed the pad to Obi-Wan with a few choice words of, "I told you he was an idiot. If I had actually registered in the race, I would have won and we would have no ship." Harry walked off as Obi-Wan watched the recording. Later that day, Harry felt something new and went outside the ship to discover what he was feeling. Harry saw that Keegan was returning and had Anakin Skywalker with him. He then saw a speeder coming at them at high speeds. The rider the speeder jumped off and activated a lightsaber heading straight at Keegan. Harry intercepted the man and began to fight him. He tested the man's ability with a lightsaber and speed up his attack. When the man ignited the second side of his blade, Harry smiled. He quickly jumped back and activated his second side as well, and then split the saber in two. The man had a surprised expression as Harry leapt back into the fight. Harry attacked the man until he sliced the man's arm off. He noticed as the cloak fell off the man the Sith runes covering his head. "You were a Sith, an apprentice based on your skills. Why do you attack now?" Quote, "I will kill you, Jedi," the man's voice filled with anger and pain. "I have killed far more powerful Sith than you. You have no chance, apprentice. Take a message back to your masters. I will hunt them down and kill them." The apprentice grabbed his lightsaber from the ground and retreated. Harry walked onto the vessel. The apprentice was obviously weak as he hadn't even used any Force skills in the fight. Harry then thought about the fact the Jedi hadn't either. Could the Force users of this time have lost the knowledge of fighting skills? He considered, read it, and decided that he would check the records at the temple. On board the ship, the questions began. "Why did you not let me battle that man?" "Because you have just walked a distance to reach the ship, and the fact that your fighting style leaves a lot to be desired." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Master Keegan is a master of the Jedi Order." Obi-Wan was outraged at the thought that this kid thought himself better than a master. "Just because he is a master does not mean he is a good fighter. Neither of you have used any Force powers during your fights. Keegan also uses Form IV without deviation. Any good fighter knows to mix forms to gain an upper hand in a fight as well as to use Force powers. But I have yet to see either of you do anything but basic forms." Keegan interrupted before Obi-Wan could continue. Moving on, who was he? He was a Sith apprentice. He was very weak and didn't even use his dual saber in a proper form. All he did was swing and block using a messed up style. He didn't even try a taunt like any other Sith would do. The Sith have been extinct for a millennia. No one knows how a Sith fights with the possible exception of Master Yoda. I have fought the Sith before many times. This was a weak fool, not a true apprentice, unless the Sith have forgotten their past. Harry walked away at that and was followed by Padme. "Are you okay?" she asked. "Yes, that was one of the easiest fights I have ever been involved in. I have never seen such an unskilled fighter since I was a Padawan. Even then I had been a master of many of the forms and was surprised by how little other Jedi knew. Why did he come after us? I would think to track you down. There is nothing else on this ship to risk the Jedi learning that the Sith survive. The Sith never will be destroyed fully. There are too many worlds that contain their teachings and the Sith will always rise again. Same with the Jedi, we were almost wiped out, but if we had been we would have been reborn. Well, I'm glad you're okay. It's nice to talk to someone that doesn't treat me as a simple servant or as queen, and Anakin doesn't know how to actually talk to anyone without so many questions. She smiled at this. He's a good kid. Once he grows up he will be such a nice man. Anakin walked into the room after she commented, Obi-Wan hates me. Harry glanced up. Oh, and why do you say that? I asked him to show me his lightsaber and he said I was too young. Come here. Harry pulled his saber out and placed it in Anakin's hand. This is how you hold it, okay? Now only press this button once to activate the blade. The blade sprung up out of the cylinder. Wicked, I can't wait to have one of these. Anakin was filled with excitement and stared at the blade with envy. Amused, Harry spoke to him. Why don't you take a few swings with it? Make sure to be fully aware of your surroundings and not to hit anyone. Anakin tried swinging it around a few times. Obi-Wan was walking past the room and saw Harry letting Anakin play with the saber. Harry had Anakin deactivate the blade and took the saber back, hooking it on his belt. I'll show you something else later, okay? Thanks. Why walked out of the room and saw Obi-Wan standing there. Obi-Wan opened his mouth and Harry cut him off. Let's go to another room, okay? They went to the mess room and saw that only Qui-Gon was in the room. Obi-Wan started right in on Harry. How could you let a child play with a lightsaber? It's a dangerous weapon and he could have killed someone. I was ready to deactivate the blade at any time, and I saw no reason not to let him look at it. He shouldn't be near a lightsaber without training to use it first. Were you so different, Obi-Wan? Qui-Gon spoke. I remember that you always wanted to see a lightsaber and I allowed you to do so. That was different, Master. You were there to make sure nothing went wrong. Obi-Wan was now shocked that Qui-Gon wasn't on his side. And I was with Anakin, so how is that any different? Now Harry was becoming annoyed at this guy's stupidity. You were just a kid. You should have a master with you and you were running around on your own. Harry got annoyed with his appearance, but didn't feel like commenting on the fact. Obi-Wan's comment reminded him a lot of how Dumbledore and his order had treated Harry. So what, are you saying that I have no skill with the Force to protect myself and others from an untrained boy with a lightsaber? Harry stormed out of the room and went back to the tool room where he had been staying to meditate. Padme walked in showing Anakin the where he could build something and disturbed Harry. Harry, what are you doing in here? Meditating. Obi-Wan got on my nerves. I wanted to go somewhere quiet and this was the only place that everyone avoids. Harry's voice was still filled with annoyance, but wasn't filled with anger. Why would you meditate? Well, Anakin, meditation brings a calmness to a person. They can release emotions and let me avoid exploding at people. It also makes it easier to control the Force. Can you teach me? Sure, it will be helpful in the future. How about you, Padme? It would be very useful for you in the future. It will help you release a great deal of frustration, and once you are good enough you can control your emotions in the middle of an argument. Harry Fu. ND himself calming with just talking to Anakin. The kid took his mind off of everything else so easily. Harry taught them how to fall into a calm state and search inside themselves. He also told them that they should see a small ball of light in them. Harry explained that this was the Force that they could access. Anakin had a large ball of strength and Harry told him he could easily use it. Padme had a core a little larger than normal but not powerful enough for a full Jedi, but she could reach at least Padawan strength. He was able to begin teaching them both. Over the next week the three old meditate and Harry had taught them each to be able to levitate small objects. When they arrived at Coruscant, Harry promised to visit Padme and continue their lessons. The three Jedi and Anakin walked before the Jedi Council. Obi-Wan gave a deep respectful bow while Qui-Gon gave a quick respectful one. Anakin bowed upon seeing the other two while Harry just stood casually. The council too. Okay, note of his lack of respect before talking. Master Qui-Gon, you bring two people before us whom we have never before seen. Yes, this is Harry Potter, a Jedi apparently, and this is Anakin Skywalker. He has great potential to become a Jedi. Yoda looked at Harry carefully. Come from where do you? I come from Tatooine and prior to that from Naboo. These two can tell you that. Yoda smiled and his eyes twinkled. Harry thought once again about old men and twinkly eyes. Meanwhile Mace Windu gave him an annoyed look. Where did you originally come from? Harry felt like being extremely annoying and spoke as if Mace was a child. Well, you see, when Mommy and Daddy forgot to use protection one night I was conceived and 9 months later was Born. Yoda's eyes light further and he asked, "Who are you?" "I am Harry Potter." "Who are you?" "Yoda am I." "You look like little man. Any relation to Master Vandar?" "No, of Vandar you should not. Been dead for 4,000 years he has." Yoda was now filled with shock at the direction of the conversation. "Yea, little man's death was sad, but I made sure he was in the Jedi records." "Who are you really?" Harry turned to a computer screen at the side of the council room. "Harry Revan Potter Authorization Code, Alpha 378 Alpha 192,584,358 Delta 689,305 Hogwarts. Master Harry Revan Potter, welcome back to the temple. You have 28 new messages. List messages: 20 summons by Jedi Council, 5 summons from Supreme Chancellor, 2 messages from Master Rylock, and 1 message from Stephanie Potter." Harry's eyes widened in surprise. Play message from Stephanie Potter. Message activating. "Hey Harry, I set this message to be sent in 50 years from my death. If you haven't yet, use your ritual to travel, but if I know you as well as I do you have done it. If you are getting this in that case you weren't sent home. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you, but I have had a vision and it's bad. The Jedi are going to need you again. And I know that you are going to hate this but try to not kill them. The Council of our time has plans to reduce the likelihood of Jedi falling and it will weaken them. There is a war coming and they will not survive it. If my vision is right then you are about 15 years old now. What you have been considering doing for the last 2 weeks, do it. Also continue to give her the knowledge she will need. I'm sure you know the two whom I am talking about. When the time is right try the ritual again. The Force has intercepted you on this trip to save its people. Have fun and don't destroy the galaxy, old friend. I also got you a present. Several of your old accounts are in the Jedi records and will be sent an reactivation signal by this message. You have your old fortune with several thousand years of interest, enjoy it. Never forget you will see Hermione again, remember that and you shall survive. Message has ended, would you like to send a reply? No, deactivate. The compet. Deactivated and Harry tried to process all that he had been told. His wife had only had 2 visions before then and they were both disturbingly accurate. He would have to stay for now. The council quietly tried to understand what was being said. Not having enough knowledge they returned to the matter at hand. While Harry stood by the computer the council tested Anakin and called the others back in to hear their decision. Harry suddenly regained thought of what was happening around him. So he is to be trained. No, he will not be trained. But he is the chosen one, surely you see that. Keegan's voice was filled with surprise. Clouded the boy's future is. Shrouded in darkness it is. Then I take Anakin as my Padawan learner. A Padawan you already have, Keegan a second is forbidden. Obi-Wan is ready to take the trials. This was filled with resolve, but the council wouldn't accept it. Harry cut in, Anakin, what do you wish? Would you like to wait for the council to accept you, Keegan, to go against them? Or would you like to be trained by me in the way of the old Jedi? I don't want to be any trouble. You aren't any trouble. This is about you and you alone. You may choose your fate. Would you teach me then? Quote, of course, I was just waiting for you to ask. I am taking Anakin as my apprentice. Mace spoke, you are a child, you cannot take an apprentice. Stop me then. I will take Anakin to Naboo with me and train him in the old ways. Obi-Wan spoke, Naboo is under the control of the Trade Federation. Taking the boy there would be dangerous. Well, what were you planning on having him do when the council refused him and sent you to help Queen Amidala? She will return to Naboo with or without the support of the Senate. How would you know what she will do? I asked her. Come on Anakin, I'll teach you about financing an army while I go hire one. The two walked out with the council unsure what he meant. Harry took Anakin down to the communications room and checked on his finances. He found he had several 100 trillion credits with the interest on his accounts over thousands of years. He researched new ship designs and found one for the Victory-class Star Destroyer. Harry sent a request to the Fondor shipyard to build 5 of the ships for him. He then sent a request to the Mandalorians to raise a small army of hired soldiers of both Mandalorians and other species in an army they were to train. Harry then led Anakin over to the Queen's room so they could talk to Padme. He was taken and shown to the Queen. Once the Republic security left, Harry spoke, Lo Corday, Padme in. She said you would know. She asked for you to be taken to her. She seemed slightly surprised and amused. Harry and Anakin were taken to a back set of rooms where Padme was. Hi Padme, how's it going? I hate the Senate. I had to spend a great deal of time in calming myself during the meeting. Hi, Anakin, are the Jedi going to train? She sounded more excited at the end when talking to Anakin. The council said no and wouldn't let Qui-Gon, but they couldn't stop Harry. Really, so Harry is your master now? Yep. He was filled with excitement and was very obviously happy. I was hoping you wouldn't mind if we stay on Naboo after we send the Federation packing. Not at all, I'll be glad to have you two around to talk with. Great, I was hoping to be able to continue your training. How far can I go with the training? With use of emotions to help, I think you could be able to do basic force push, pull, battle precognition, small amount of lightning, and use a lightsaber. I can do that much. Should be able to, you will be able to do as much with a lightsaber as Qui-Gon could anyway. I will teach you several forms and how to merge them. If it takes so little to be a Jedi, why are they so rare? By the current Jedi method of training, Anakin is more powerful than any other member of their order, and he wouldn't be able to do much more than what I will teach you. In my time it took real power to be a true Jedi, as we use the Force to do many techniques and some rituals. Because I follow the original code, I am able to perform the darkest and lightest techniques. I learned several truly dark powers while fighting the Sith. However, the new Jedi seem to need the same energy as we did and can only do a fraction of what we knew. Quote, so would you say you are more or less powerful than Anakin? My raw power is probably equal to Anakin's, perhaps slightly greater. I have had a great deal of time to perfect my technique and knowledge over several centuries of life. I will always seem to be more powerful because of that. Also, there are many things I know that I would never teach another, even if I may use the ability myself. Why wouldn't you teach it then? I was tortured and saw my men die by these abilities. I shouldn't have ever learned them, but in the middle of a war fighting against them I needed to know. There are times that I have been desperate enough to use these techniques to live, but only then. I know of many abilities that are just plain unnatural and can use them without a thought, but if I use them too often I will turn. My morals will be worthless. I understand. Well, I think we will start another exercise then. Over the next 2 months Harry continued to teach the two to use the Force. He slowly taught them to fight using sticks rather weapons. As they improved he would teach them more and more complicated abilities. Anakin was assimilating knowledge as fast as Harry had in his youth, and began to attempt using 2 sticks at a time. Padme was able to do basic things and had to work very hard to use the Force. Both had begun practicing battle precognition after the first month, and Harry stressed its importance. She was only able to use 1 weapon at a time, and Harry thought it was for the best. They continued working for another 2 months before the issue with the Senate finally became too much. Padme called for a vote of no confidence in the Chancellor. Harry knew that there was even less chance of anything happening now for months, and they began to plan the retaking of Naboo. And they were finally ready to travel. Harry had them collect supplies for a lightsaber. He made sure that Anakin knew to only build 1 for now. Padme built a beautiful handle with a purple blade. Anakin had designed a handle for efficiency rather than elegance with a blue blade. Harry had taught them both the old method of 3 crystals for more power rather than a single crystal the new designs had. Harry had a full 24 Mandalorians with them and had a dozen fly fighters with the other dozen for land battle. The 12 going on the land got on board the vessel, and soon the rest of the people began to board. As predicted, both Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan joined them and were very surprised to see both Padme and Anakin clip their saber on once in the ship. Once alone Qui-Gon had discussed it with Harry and was surprised by how little power Padme had needed to become a Jedi equal to most of the Order. When Harry explained the old code and also many of the old techniques, Qui-Gon was shocked by how much knowledge had been lost. He asked to join the sessions under Harry for saber skills, and Harry agreed to allow him. Qui-Gon had improved his fighting style during the 2.5-week trip. And both Padme and Anakin were able to stand against him in fighting. Obi-Wan had begun coming to the sessions after the first week and had learned a little. He hadn't done much, but maybe enough to save his life. They finally came out of hyperspace and landed. With 12 Mandalorian fighters for cover, Harry was feeling confident that the plan would work. Padme called in any security forces that had gone underground and found only a few hundred. They set up a small plan for freeing several camps before the final battle. She gave Jar Jar Binks the task of locating the Gungan people and create a large army. With the Resistance supplying data, Harry ordered the Mandalorians to attack and free a small camp with over 300 security men. The attack was successful, and with those men helping, the final plan was set. 4,000 Gungans were marching across the plains to the west of the capital, drawing much of the droid army away. The Resistance was brought together and was entering Theed, drawing even more droids away from the palace. For the actual palace assault, Anakin was to stick with Padme and her group. Cord would be leading the main group of security to seem as if she was the true queen during the fight. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were to stay with that group during the fight. The 12 Mandalorians would be staying in Padme's group and would look as if it was a mercenary group. Harry would stay with Padme unless the Sith decided to show up during the fight. As they entered the palace, 36 pilot followed behind, waiting to get into their fighters. In the hangar, Harry told them to wait until the droids were cleared out. Harry sent a massive force assault, destroying most of the droids, and let the others pick them off. He sent the pilots in and they ran to their fighters, launching them quickly. Harry called the other group of Mandalorians to launch as well. As the group walked toward the power station, the doors in front slid open. They revealed the Sith apprentice standing there with a lightsaber and a mechanical arm. Qui-Gon started to step forward, but Harry put a hand on his arm, and he shook his head. Harry walked forward while the others moved out in another direction. "Hello, apprentice, did you come seeking knowledge or revenge?" "Revenge, and I will make you suffer for the humiliation you have put me through. My master punished me harshly, or my failure, and I will let you know that pain." "Then do so, but first, what is your name?" "Darth Maul." Harry grabbed his saber and split it into 2 separate sabers. Maul turned on his dual blades and set himself in a combat stance. Harry attacked and pushed Maul back. He continued to press the attack and had Maul steadily on the retreat. Harry was not even trying to fight and was finding this fight ridiculously easy. Let your hatred flow through you into your attacks. That is the way of the Sith, and you are not doing so. So I ask, are you even a Sith? This got Maul angry and his attacks increased. "I am a Sith and you will die by my hand." Maul began to unleash a flurry of attacks and Harry actually had to try to block the sudden increase of strikes. "You are getting better, however I have yet to see any force attacks. Any real Sith would by now have thrown lightning at me." Maul got angrier and attacked harder than before. "Is it that you do not know how? Even I, a Jedi, can use lightning. You are not a Sith. Your master is using you as a tool until he finds one worthy of such knowledge." Harry decided to show off a little and launch a lightning strike and followed it with a fire strike. The lightning was mostly avoided, but the fire was too strong and hit Maul with enough force to throw him back 10 meters. Maul stood and Harry could see that he was badly burned. He felt pity for the poor man before him. The guy could have been trained to be so much better, and at least a Jedi would have taught him to help others with his power. This man's potential had been wasted to be another's tool. Harry remembered his time like that, and this man had no clue at all. Harry could see that it would be better to kill Maul than to try and reform him. The man had been in this situation too long, and even if he was turned, his master would come to kill him. Harry chose to show the man mercy and let him die rather than continue as a tool to be thrown away. He stopped playing around. And attack with such speed and precision that Maul was unable to block more than half of his strikes. Maul fell back dying from his wounds. How? Harry could see in his eyes that Maul had expected to win easily. "You were a tool. You were not trained to face a true Jedi, only the modern fools. I'm sorry that this has happened to you, rest in peace." Maul slowly breathed, each breath a difficult task to do. The light left his eyes and his spirit joined with the Force. Harry looked upon Maul's body before tearing his eyes away and began to walk back to meet the others. Harry paused and summoned the lightsaber to himself. He would remember Maul, and maybe the lightsaber would serve another one day. Harry reached the throne room and used the Force to open the doors. Padme had the situation in hand with the Viceroy. Anakin came over to him. "Are you okay?" "Yay, I'm fine." "So did you beat him?" Anakin asked with the enthusiasm of any child thinking of a fight between the good and bad guys. "Yes, I beat him. Hopefully he will find peace in his death." "So what do we do now that we won?" "Why, Anakin, I'm surprised you don't know." Anakin looked at him impatiently. "After any big victory you party." The guards standing around them smiled at this, and Anakin's face lit up brightly. Over the next several weeks, parties were frequently seen in cleanup crews removing the deactivated droids from the city. The Jedi Council and Supreme Chancellor Palpatine arrived to celebrate the victory and remember the dead. Harry told the council members about Maul, and the fact that he knew nothing compared to the Sith of the past. This either meant he was only a tool, or that the Sith had lost even their basic teachings. Harry stayed on Naboo training Anakin and Padme. After 2 years of learning from him, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan had returned to Coruscant for Obi-Wan's trials. He passed easily after the training sessions Harry had him go through. Qui-Gon had found a new apprentice a few months later, while Obi-Wan had begun his travel solo. It was 3 years later that Harry and Anakin had finally left Naboo for other planets. They had stopped on Tatooine to free Anakin's mom. While Anakin had hoped that she would go with them, she had instead chosen to remain on the planet after so long. Around Anakin's 16th birthday they had met up with Obi-Wan and began to travel with him. They had found many odd experiences such as a living planet and the beginnings of a split in the Republic. Having seen it before, Harry realized that the war he had been warned of would soon begin. Anakin was quickly learning, and by the time he was 19 Harry declared him a Knight of the Republic. Anakin had remained with him to continue learning and eventually become a master. So far no new knowledge had surfaced of the Sith. Fight of the Jedi. Disclaimer: I do not own any Star Wars or Harry Potter books, movies, and games or Babylon 5. Note: first attempted story. Chapter 6. It was a year later that Anakin returned to the Council for a mission. This prevented him from continuing his training for mastery, but he would gain experience. The Council, having seen Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan's abilities, had agreed to work with Harry rather than against. Harry and Anakin had accepted several missions over the years, and since Yoda was in charge of the Council, they didn't push too far. Anakin's first solo assignment was to protect Senator Amidala from assassination attempts. Obi-Wan had been given the task of tracking down the assassins themselves. Over the next few weeks Anakin and Padme became closer and began to date. When Obi-Wan had tried to say something, Harry reminded him of how he had been trained. Obi-Wan had done the intelligent thing of shut up and move on to a new topic. Harry had spent this time traveling to the planets that contained Sith knowledge. Harry had already found 3 holocrons and had them all destroyed. He soon received word that the war had begun. Over a hundred Jedi had fallen in a single day, marking the beginning of the Clone War. Anakin sent a personal message speaking of his fight with Count Dooku. Anakin had fared well in the fight, surprising Dooku by stopping a lightning attack and responding in kind. Anakin had then been able to fight a saber battle well until his saber had been sliced in half. Yoda had shown up at that point and had assisted Anakin in his fight against Dooku. Anakin spoke of the Yoda's fighting skills being nearly as good as Harry's were. Harry had gotten involved in the war with his small 5-ship fleet and army. His troops were motivated to fight unlike the clones and statistically were better in overall fighting. Harry led attacks on several planets like Wayland and Dathomir, fighting the armies of the Confederacy. He lost one of his ships in a battle that destroyed a Confederacy leader. The others went forward and continued to reinforce fleets or planets in need. Having seen the results of several wars nearly destroying the Jedi, Harry suggested that Yoda start several small enclaves for teaching. This would spread the Jedi so no one planetary assault could wipe them out and also move the younglings away from the war. The enclaves were built in complete secrecy with only 2 council members knowing the location of a single enclave. The Chancellor was left uninformed and had no idea that other training facilities existed. Harry visited the temple several times over the next 3 years and on one occasion had learned something of great interest. Yoda had fought against Count Dooku on Vegan. He had been accompanied by 2 Jedi and their Padawans during the mission. The one kid had already been placed with a new master being as powerful as he was. On the other hand, the girl, Tal Elizabeth E. Nwandong Esterhazy, who was better known as Scout, had no one want to take her on. Her first master had died at the beginning of the Clone War and she was left without a master, trying her best to remain a Jedi. Apparently, she only had received her second master through a bet, and when he had died none of the others had wished to train her. Harry found it ridiculous that a Jedi had bet with Yoda to Avenue the girl thrown out from the Jedi or to train her. The entire order seemed to have become corrupted, not just the Council. The Jedi Council, in all their wisdom, had begun considering removing her from the Jedi. Harry asked around about this girl and learned that she had managed to manipulate the rules in a contest of Padawans to her advantage, including grabbing a lightsaber to win a fight. The lightsabers had their power settings extremely low. She had managed to do this with only extreme burns. She had managed to use her surroundings to her advantage in fights, and she was willing to work extremely hard to control the Force. Scout's force strength was too low to become a Jedi with the current methods. She was almost twice as strong as Mission had been, but without emotions or EV. And the old techniques, she was unable to do much of anything with her power. The other masters considered her useless in a fight and more likely to get them killed than assist. Harry watched her during several classes, staying disillusioned so he was unseen. He could see her struggle to complete the different tasks the instructors provided and was quickly falling behind those much younger than her. The instructors didn't even attempt to assist her in her attempts, and she was forgotten in the corner of the room before long. Harry stopped his spell and walked over to her. He knelt down beside her, and after seeing that she had noticed him asked, "Have you tried to use your emotions to assist you?" She was completely confused, and he explained several different techniques to fully utilize her power. While the others left the room without a second glance at her, Harry continued helping her until she was able to lift the large crate in front of her. An hour later her stomach growled and she blushed. Harry checked the time and saw that it was well after lunch already. "Well, it would appear that we have missed lunch. Want to go out to get something to eat, my treat, but we aren't allowed out of the temple. The council have forbidden us to leave even with an older Jedi. What they don't know won't hurt them. Even if they do find out, they can't actually do anything to stop us. But you could get into a lot of trouble, and I could be kicked out of the order." This was ridiculous, Harry was thinking. They can't do anything to me, and I won't allow you to be kicked out for getting lunch. Okay then, if you're sure it won't be a problem. The two snuck out of the temple and went to lunch. When they finished, they went for a walk talking about the war and how she was coping with her master's death. She admitted that she wasn't very close to him and it had hurt more seeing her chance of training die rather than his actual dying. Harry offered to train her and she considered for a while. She agreed to become his Padawan after an hour of thinking it over. He insisted that Scout call him Harry and never Master. They continued walking to different stores and went for supper before returning to the temple. When they reached the temple, another Jedi told Scout she was to report directly to the council. She was to go in alone, and Harry disillusioned and cloaked himself completely. He followed her into the room and saw that most of the masters were still there. Mace Windu began to speak. "Padawan, you know the rules of leaving the temple, do you not?" "Yes, sir." "Then can you explain why you left today? Worse was that you were gone for many hours before returning. These rules are in place for your safety, yet you leave anyway." "I was perfectly safe. I went with Harry to eat lunch and talked for a few hours and got supper. You knew that the rules were not to leave even if it was with another Jedi. For this reason we have decided to expel you from the order. You are no longer a Jedi." Harry could see that several members had satisfaction written all over their faces, and Yoda seemed disappointed in them. Harry dropped his cloak and appeared next to Scout. "I'm sorry, Mace. However, you do not have the authority to do that. What are you doing here?" "Well, it is expected that I care for my Padawan, is it not? Even if you expel her from this mockery of an order, she is still a Jedi. She will be trained in the old ways that have made Anakin as powerful as he is. No longer will your foolish code and training methods stop her from reaching her true potential. You cannot undermine the council's authority. You are a Jedi same as the rest of us and are under our authority. My original council couldn't control me at the age of 10. What makes you think you have a NY chance of success when I'm over 400 years old? I lived in the times of wars. I fought the Emperor of the Sith and won. What have you done to compare to that? You are all so arrogant, you think that you are invincible and wise. You know nothing of the past Jedi. I dare any of you to open a holocron of the ancient Jedi and ask what rank they think you are. I can guarantee that only Yoda would be declared a master of the Force. What right do you have to take a young girl's dream and crush it just because she went out for lunch?" I could see the satisfaction of many of the members when you told her. This leads me to believe that they have tried to get rid of her before and were unsuccessful. What could possibly be so satisfying about losing a member of the Order? In my day it was considered one of the saddest days. Even worse than the death of a Jedi. To cast a Jedi from the Order is to lose all the potential good that person could have done. To see you so satisfied makes me sick. You are not Jedi. You are mere shadows of what the Jedi once were. I have seen Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Yoda willing to become more like the Jedi of old. Anakin Skywalker has been trained by the old code, and look at his power now. Scout will be trained to be more powerful than any of you are. Padme is more Jedi than you, and she's a Qui-Gon senator. If anyone should be cast from the Order, it is you and your council for letting the Jedi become so weak. I will train true Jedi again. They will train others, and one day the Jedi will grow strong again. What I see now though deserves to be wiped out. If I hadn't seen the potential of the few I have, I would leave you to your destruction. It happens every few thousand years and brings down the overly arrogant Jedi. Over the next century they will struggle to regrow and not be as arrogant, so not to be destroyed again. Each time it has allowed them to grow stronger than before. This is the first time I have ever heard of the Jedi falling so far. See ya later, little man. Come on, Scout, we have better things to do. Harry walked out of the council followed by Scout. She was completely shocked by what he had just done and unsure of what all had happened. Am I a Jedi or not? You are a Jedi and will be until such time as you choose not to be. But they kicked me out of the Order. And I said you were still in the Order. You are now in the Order of the Jedi rather than the Jedi Order. What's the difference? In ancient times the Order of the Jedi would fight the Sith and protect the galaxy. They followed the old code that allowed logic. The name was shortened to the Jedi Order around the time the new code was introduced, and over the years those that continued to follow the old code were considered to be in the Order of the Jedi. If you go by that standard, then I am the only master of the Order and Anakin is the only knight. Padme and you would both be at the Padawan level, as she doesn't have the power to continue and you don't have the knowledge. So how are you over 400 years old? And what do you mean that you fought and defeated the Emperor of the Sith? Harry began to tell her of his history growing up and leading a war. He spoke about how he became a Sith Lord to the history books and what had truly occurred. He took her to other planets and helped fight the war. He would train her between the fighting and continued his life story. Scout was amazed by the life he had lived and what he had gone through to reach this point. She worked hard to be able to fight as well as he could and trained herself as much as possible. Harry was forced to stop her from hurting herself with the training method. He told her that going slower was okay. She admitted her fears of him abandoning her if she didn't progress fast enough. Harry hated her previous instructors for allowing her to become so lacking of self-esteem. She would put up a brave mask when others were around, but she was always afraid of being left behind. It didn't help that her last master had died so soon after taking her as an apprentice. With her friends having all left to fight the war already, she had been left alone. With younger and younger kids around her. The knights and masters would choose a Padawan and within months one would be dead thanks to the war. Over the next few months Harry had met a young Jedi Knight named Barrisafi. She had only recently completed her trials and was a healer. Harry offered her a great deal of knowledge and force abilities to heal. Most of the abilities were only talked about as legend nowadays. Harry was disgusted by the modern Jedi. Everything that had made the Order great had been lost to time. They had holocrons to learn from, but were unwilling to look at the knowledge. Scout was learning much faster than Anakin or Harry had ever done. Harry saw that she was determined to prove her worth and that she wanted to win in a fight. Scout still had nightmares of her failure to help on Vegan. She had been used to try to lure Y to the dark side and she was only able to do a small thing to help. She hadn't fought very well and believed that if she'd been better trained the battle would have turned out differently. Anakin had sent word of his marriage to Padme, and Harry was saddened to have missed it. He was happy for his friends, but to not inviting him was a bit upsetting. They had sent some pictures and appeared to be enjoying a short break from the war. Scout had received news of several more friends having died in fights across the galaxy. The Sioux NCIL was losing enough Jedi that they had begun to finally realize that they could be badly hurt. In one battle Anakin and Obi-Wan were working together and were forced to call Harry for relief. It appeared that both the Council and Chancellor had abandoned them to death. Harry had lost another 2 ships in the battle, but he had rescued his friends. Scout was also able to finally meet Anakin. WHO had been happy to learn there would be others in the Order so soon. One day the news came that Palpatine had been captured by the Confederacy and the entire Republic seemed to mourn. Anakin had shown up with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon to rescue him. Qui-Gon was killed by his old master Dooku, now called Darth Tyrannus. Anakin had killed Dooku in anger. Harry may have trained him and been a great friend, but it had been Qui-Gon to free him from slavery. Harry was saddened by the loss. They had become friends over the years and agreed on the Council not being all wise. With Chancellor Palpatine free the Republic's hope for victory had been renewed. Having both Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi standing with Palpatine raised morale all the more. The two were the best Jedi, having Anakin's use of old powers and Obi-Wan seemed to be the very embodiment of what these new Jedi wished to be. Obi-Wan was both wise and powerful and was raised to be a master on the Council. He had great skills with a lightsaber. It seemed Harry training him some had helped. 6 months later, Harry and Scout were standing on the bridge of one of Harry's 2 remaining ships. The war was becoming harder to fight. The Confederacy had upgraded their droids far beyond the original models. Most of his crew was made up of Mandalorians. Harry had refused any clones to join his personal fleet until a man named Cal Skirata had several clones that wanted to help the Republic, but not be bound by it. Harry had agreed to let the group of 20 join his crew. 17 clones, 1 Mandalorian and 2 Jedi joined the fleet. Harry had talked to the Jedi and both had found the order lacking. Harry offered them training under him and they agreed. A call had gone to every clone unit to execute Order 66. Several of the clones seemed conflicted as to their duty and Harry had asked what the order was. They explained that any member of the Jedi Order was to be killed on sight. Harry happily informed them not to war. Wyan explained that the Jedi with him were of the Order of the Jedi. They were happy with the solution and continued with the routine. Harry contacted Yoda and learned of Palpatine being a Sith and took a fighter to rendezvous with the Tantive IV. Obi-Wan seemed to be the only other Jedi in contact and they found that the temple was calling all Jedi back to Coruscant. The three devised a plan to divert the Jedi to different enclaves while they went after the Sith. On Coruscant they fought into the temple and found all the Jedi dead including younglings. They changed the code before Harry and Obi-Wan looked into the security records to see that Anakin had turned. They decided that Yoda would attack now Emperor Palpatine while Harry would go after Anakin. Obi-Wan was sent to the enclave to the Jedi were being diverted to and prepare them for a possible attack. Harry went to talk to Padme and asked her for help. She was unwilling to believe Anakin had turned and wouldn't say where he had gone. Harry did discover she was pregnant though. Harry snuck on board her ship when she went after Anakin. Harry walked out of the ship to see them talking. I don't want to hear any more about Harry. The Jedi turned against me. Don't you turn against me. Quote, I don't know you anymore. Anakin, you're breaking my heart. I'll never stop loving you, but you are going down a path I can't follow. Because of Harry, because of what you've done, what you plan to do. Stop now, come back, I love you. Anakin turned and saw Harry standing in the ship, liar. Padme turned confused and saw Harry and screamed, no. Both in denial of the accusation and telling Harry not to kill Anakin. You're with him. You've betrayed me. You brought him here to kill me. No, Anakin, I swear, Anakin R. Eached out with the force and began to choke her. She tried to stop him, but he was too strong. Let her go Anakin. Harry began walking out of the ship. Anakin seeing her pass out dropped her. You turned her against me. You have done that yourself. You will not take her from me. Your anger and your lust for power have already done that. They both ripped their cloaks off knowing a fight would soon begin. You have allowed this Dark Lord to twist your mind until now you have become the very thing you swore to destroy. Quote, don't lecture me, Harry. I see through the lies of the Jedi. I do not fear the dark side as you do. I have brought peace, justice, freedom, and security to my new empire. You have confused me with the Council. I don't fear the dark side, but I know it's turn you if you are unprepared for its power. And since when do you have an empire? Join me and we can rule the empire together. Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy. If you're not with me, you're my enemy. Then you know what you must do, and you know I must stop you. Harry looked at Anakin sadly as he drew his saber. Anakin lunged at Harry trying to catch him off guard. Harry fought back and a ferocious battle began. Anakin was as knowledgeable in every form of Jedi, Echani, and Mandalorian combat. Harry had trained him in all but the Sith and Earth forms. Anakin leapt in the air, tried to hit Harry from overhead, and Harry blocked and sent a force attack to knock Anakin away. The two fought into the Confederacy compound, over the dead bodies of Confederacy leaders Anakin had killed. And soon were out on a walkway. The shielding on the complex had been deactivated at some point during their fight and Harry pushed Anakin into the unprotected areas. Lava bursts appeared around them and Harry was forced to disengage and run as stones of fire rained down upon them. In the momentary pause of battle Harry yelled over to Anakin, you know the last time I was at this planet I destroyed it. Why would you do that? This was the last stronghold of the Sith Empire. Their darkest knowledge was on this planet and I ordered my ships to send laser fire down upon the surface for days. It was a living planet once, but because of me it is now covered in molten rock. It's ironic that we should battle here with you trying to return the Sith to power. Why won't you join me? You know as well as I that the Jedi are corrupt. Yes, but there are a group that are overcoming their faults like Obi-Wan, Yoda, and my new apprentices. They will lead the Jedi into the future. You took more apprentices, did you? Yes, 2 Jedi that had been working with the clones, one is now married and pregnant and the other is an honorary Mandalorian. Then there is Scout who will soon reach knighthood. I'm sure you remember her. When I win, I will make sure she survives and even take her as my own apprentice if she wishes. You won't win Anakin. The burst of lava had PPED the rain of rock and was melting the platform they were on. Harry ran to melting section as fast as he could, followed by Anakin. The platform broke away and fell to the river of lava below. Y defended from several attacks and used a wire to swing to a small platform shielded from the river below it. Anakin jumped onto a nearby droid and moved closer to Harry platform. Why do you fight me? You have joined this Sith Lord and I swore long ago to defend the galaxy from the Sith. I couldn't let him die. Mace Windu was going to arrest him and then tried to kill him when he surrendered. I cut off his arm and the Emperor threw him out the window. I had no choice, the Jedi would hunt me down. You always have a choice. You could have arrested him and called me or Yoda. We both have fought long enough to know that everyone makes mistakes. He knows the only way to allow Padme to live. I can't risk his death. Harry was surprised by this revelation. What do you mean? She will die in childbirth and the Emperor knows a method to sustain her life. What is this method exactly? With this power I can order the midichlorians within her to keep her alive. I know this power, and it works based off of compassion or hatred. Rarely can any Sith actually use the ability for good. You can use this power. Yes, it is one of the many things that should not be known. Why? It could do so much good to save people. The Sith used this ability to keep their prisoners alive and tortured for years without food, water, even air. Because they used it with hatred the moment they stopped the person died. With compassion it can be used to heal and the person will live on. For that reason I refuse to teach another. Will you help her? The Emperor only knows of the ability, he can't use it. Yes, I will help her. But she wants you, Anakin, not this Vader. Can I be forgiven? I helped slaughter all the Jedi. Over 1,000 still live. Many are apprentices or younger, but they still live. You only helped fight a small number and only 2 others know this. Yoda and Obi-Wan will both understand you have turned back. How can so many live? I sense the destruction of the Jedi approaching and prepared for it. Each enclave has at least one person whom I have given training to. They will help the future Jedi to grow strong again. Any survivors have been directed to one of the enclaves until the Emperor is defeated. Then I will join you. Can you forgive me? Yes, I was once thought to be the worst Sith in history and the Jedi tried to redeem me, so you being willing are easily forgiven. He of course left the rewriting his mind out of the conversation. No one had ever learned why he hated that council so much. At least Vandar had been against it. Thank you. When I confront this Emperor you will stand aside and not interfere, one way or the other. That will be the true test of whether you are redeemed or not. But you could die. I defeated the Emperor, or of the original Sith and his top 20 advisors. One weak Sith Lord hasn't a hope of victory. Even if I seem to be losing I have several powers I can use that will destroy him. With you in the battle I could kill you or worse. That is why you stand at the side. Very well, Master. How many times must I tell you it is Harry? We should get back to Padme. Your chalking her during pregnancy is very bad. You must hope she'll forgive you for that. Will she be okay and the baby? Yes, but expect to sleep on the couch for a month. Harry joked, showing Anakin that he was serious about forgiveness. Damn. Anakin understood and accepted it. The two returned to the ship and found the droids had brought Padme inside. Anakin, my love, are you there? She called out to him. Yes, I'm here. I'm so sorry. I only wanted to save you and I've only hurt you. Harry is okay, isn't he? Don't worry about me, I'm fine. Harry set course for Polis Massa where Obi-Wan and Yoda waited. They got Padme to the med bay and she gave birth to twin. Luke and Leia Skywalker were born healthy and Anakin was so happy that he was crying. Both council members had been wary when Anakin had been with Harry, but Harry had convinced them of his change. Because the Jedi were so against love, Anakin was unwilling to ask for their help. He had forgotten that Harry was different and set out to find his own way. Harry had said he was going to visit the new Emperor and Yoda warned him against it. He is too strong. He is a black hole in the Force and even I could not defeat him. Yoda, you do not know the methods I do, and from what you have told me, this guy is a standard Sith master. He is nothing compared the Emperor of the Sith or the top commanders. I will take him out and the Republic will be reformed. Old suggest that block the possibility of this happening again. Very well, do you wish for any help? No, if you want to come you can stay on the sidelines and cheer. No interference will be tolerated. I don't want to hurt you guys. Quote, we will be there and if you fail we will then attack. Only if I am dead and you feel me join with the Force. We will. 2 weeks later Padme was ready to travel and Bail Organa offered the use of his ship again. They arrived and there was a meeting going on of the top commanders of the army and the Emperor. Harry walked into the Emperor's office as the other 3 Jedi waited outside. Palpatine looked at him. Guards, arrest him. Wait, I sense the Force within you. Who are you? You may have heard of me before. I am Harry Revan Potter. 4th USA. ND years ago I was General Revan of the Republic. Darth Revan, what are you doing here then? I was never a Sith. I am a Jedi and I'm here to stop you. I feel the dark side within you. Yet you claim to be a Jedi. A true Jedi of both dark and light. A Jedi of balance, and you will die. The clone troops brought blasters up at him and he casually blasted them with a Force attack. Harry lit his sabers and attacked. Palpatine raised his own blade and the two began a dance of deadly strikes. Harry hit a button to raise them into the main Senate and the two fought with both their lightsabers and the Force. Harry for the first time found an equal in saber skill, however the Force flowed through Harry much stronger than Palpatine could ever imagine. Harry sent a killing wave at the Emperor but missed. Harry sent several spells, but they were all reflected away. Palpatine sent a massive lightning assault at Harry, but Harry stopped the power in his hands. The massive power built up from a never-ending stream of lightning and the energy exploded outward. Harry found himself falling to the floor of the Senate from 30 meters up and hit the ground hard. The other Jedi were ready to int. For when Harry sent a massive combined attack of both the Force and magic at Palpatine. The strike hit the Sith Lord and killed him. Harry rose and rejoined the others. The Republic had a hard time accepting that a Sith had taken control. For many years people tried to remove the Jedi, feeling they were the same as the Sith, only acting in greater numbers. The Jedi were slowly accepted again as the years went on. The clone army was slowly able to learn to live in a normal environment and Harry found a way to correct their accelerated growth. Harry, Anakin, and Scout stayed together a lot of time, and when his children were old enough they were trained. Harry trained Luke while Scout took Leia. Scout eventually married and she asked Harry to train her daughter several years later. The continued taking apprentices over the next 100 years. Yoda and Obi-Wan had returned the Jedi Order to the temple and began to grow again. Harry built an enclave on Dantooine for his order. Ith 2 Jedi Orders in the galaxy. The number of Dark Jedi were quickly falling. Harry formed a very small number of Jedi within his order that followed the way of balancing the Force through light and dark powers. He continued to refuse to train them in many of the darker and more powerful skills of the Sith, but he gave them enough skill to fight any Dark Jedi. When an invasion from another galaxy began, Harry was on the front lines. He found that these Yuuzhan Vong were actually a remnant of the ancient Sith. They had been stripped of the Force, but it seemed that Harry could still sense them, though no other Jedi could. The Republic fleet and Jedi of both orders fought and defeated the Vong. Several invasions from the unknown regions also tried to attack, but the Jedi were always there. It seemed that this new generation had learned from the old, and with two orders they were able to balance themselves. One interesting experiment was a Dark Jedi Order. This order used the dark side, but used it to fight for the Republic. Harry was the only person to even consider this order having a chance, and surprisingly it did. There were a few failures, but with 3 orders after them none managed to do any damage. After a 4th century with them, Harry saw his old friends die, and he was alone again. He chose to try to go home again, wanting to see Hermione terribly. He had never forgot his first friend and began the spell a 3rd time. He made sure to have a shrunken XJ-9 X-Wing fighter with him. The fighter contained 3 torpedo launchers and 2 missile launchers. Since he had used magic, the first 2 torpedo launchers contained Jedi proton torpedoes which were designed to destroy starships. The 3rd contained the deadly energy resonance torpedoes which were able to each destroy a star by making it go supernova. The missile launchers contained concussion missiles which were made to destroy fighters. The fighter also had the standard 4 laser cannons that Harry had boosted the power output to that of turbo lasers, which were starship cannons. He also modified the fighter to contain 2 ion cannons on the top wings. They were built to disable both fighters and starships rather than destroy. The fighter was capable of 0.6 past light speed, which was extremely fast. He also made the fighter able to carry 2 people and had a built-in astrometric droid to navigate hyperspace routes. The fighter was built with quantum armor that was nearly indestructible. Harry was able to improve the design with the remains of his mithril and added melted scales of dragon, Fr. Own both universes and basilisk into the mix. The result was a pitch-black fighter that would be a wonderful stealth fighter. When he arrived on Earth. Harry found he was around the age of 35. He went to the wizarding world and began his search at Hogwarts. He stayed hidden in Hogsmeade, learning what had changed in the years. He tried to discover information about Hermione, but Everyone seemed to go silent as soon as her name was mentioned. Harry was unwilling to rape their minds, but was nearing the point when he would. He soon found that nothing had changed in the world and another Dark Lord had arisen. This time a young girl named Alicia Weasley was prophesied to defeat the Dark Lord. She was Bill and Fleur's daughter and had become a powerful witch. Within a month a battle began at Hogwarts and Harry found that Draco Malfoy was the Dark Lord. The young girl, Alicia Weasley, was being tortured by Malfoy and no one was stepping forward to help. Harry was disgusted with this world and spoke up. "Hey ferret, why don't you try picking on someone your own size?" Draco turned and saw Harry stand there. It was obvious that Harry was unrecognized by everyone. "Who dares mock me? I will kill you for this. Don't you recognize me, ferret? I killed your old master and have returned." Draco paled as the girl was recovering from the Crucio curse. "Potter, the one and the only. The Dark Lord killed you. No, he sent me to another world and I have lived for more than 8 centuries now. I will deal with you and your little group and I will change this world." Draco sent a killing curse at Harry. Harry drew and activated his lightsaber and deflected the curse away. Everyone gasped around him as he had blocked the unblockable curse. Draco threw the curse again. And Harry used the force to stop the curse directly in front of his face. He dispelled the curse and sent lightning at Draco. "If you are willing to torture a mere child, then I will show you what it means to be tortured." Harry used several Sith techniques that had Draco screaming for mercy and no one dared to do anything. Harry released Draco from his suffering and let him die. Everyone stared at him and looked at what he had done. Harry turned to them. "I will not allow another child's life to be used as a tool to defeat an enemy. You want someone to die, kill them yourselves. I will change the laws of the country and modernize this world. Both muggles and wizards could be so much more than what you are and I will see you advance. Now tell me, where is Hermione Granger?" At first no one answered and several paled. Harry turned to Professor McGonagall. "Where is she?" She reluctantly answered. "She was one of the first Malfoy attacked. She is in St. Mungo's for overexposure to the Cruciatus curse. She isn't expected to recover." "I'm sorry." Harry turned and walked away. He apparated to the 3 broomsticks and flew to Mungo's. He walked to Hermione's room led by the Force and opened the door. He saw her look up and smiled at him. She seemed normal until she didn't do anything else. "Hermione, how are you?" She just smiled and seemed oblivious to the question. Harry reached into her mind and saw the damage done to her brain. He gathered the force to repair the damage and heal her. She passed out and an hour later awoke. "Harry, is that you?" "Yes, Hermione, I came back for you." She leapt out of the bed and tackled him. She hung on to him, assuring herself he was really there. "I thought you were dead. I was transported to another universe and lived for years before I managed to return to you." "Were you happy?" Quote, "I made great friends over the years. I considered myself to have gained a wife, a sister, a brother, and a daughter over the years. They all eventually died though. I always remembered you and would talk about you enough that they all told me to return to you. If you had family and were so happy, why did you come for me? I was a childhood friend, nothing more. In over 800 years of life, I have always dreamed of returning to you. I wanted my friend back and now I have you. I want to give you a choice though. Do you wish to stay in this world or travel to others? As long as I'm with you I would be happy. But I would miss my family. I have a baby brother now." They remained on Earth and watched as the fools of the wizarding died out. Harvey ignored his many warnings and he had given up on them. Because of this, Muggleborns were unable to learn their powers and had accidents occur and soon forgot about the magic. One discovered legilimency and began reading minds. He found others with the ability and taught them. Over the years they called themselves the Psi Corps, which started out well, but eventually they became corrupt. Humans went to the stars and found other races. They got into a few wars and one day started the Minbari War. It was this war that shaped the future with the Babylon Station. Harry was disgusted by the world and had given up on them all. Hermione had tried to convince him several times to try again, but he wouldn't listen. Over the years the Force apparitions of Harry's old friends showed up. Usually it would be in his dreams. But for special occasions they would come in full view of others. This only happened every couple years, but it allowed Harry to see his old friends and let him enjoy his current life. Harry and Hermione lived on over the years and eventually found that they did love one another and married. They watched the death of the wizarding world and stayed hidden. They traveled to the stars and Harry saw races unlike any he'd ever known. He realized that they were definitely different universes. He watched as humans went to war over and over again and only shook his head. Wars The only constant in the multiverse, they never stopped coming. Eternity sucks. Disclaimer: I do not own any Star Wars or Harry Potter books, movies, and games or Babylon 5. Note: first attempted story. Chapter 7. Harry woke up alone and looked out over the valley. He was unwilling to step into this world, as every time he tried to help, no one had listened. He heard Hermione, his first friend and now second wife, yell for him. He walked into the living room and saw a news broadcast. The president was calling for anyone with ships to stand and fight while Earth was evacuated. Hermione asked him to fight, but he didn't see the point. Earth had gone to the stars and was already in its second war. Earth had started the Minbari War and was now paying for it. When it later turned out Earth had on and started to build a space station to encourage negotiations rather than wars, Harry was impressed. While the first 3 stations had been sabotaged, the 4th was nearing operation. Perhaps the Y had learned their lessons and would be willing to be more peaceful rather than constant war. Hermione chose to stay on Earth while Harry flew out into the galaxy on his X-Wing fighter. The fighter as most likely able to destroy anything he came up against. As old as the two of them were, a few years' separation would hardly be noticed. Harry added a jump drive into the fighter using magic to shrink the engine. Jump drives were found to launch ships into a sub-dimension rather than an upper dimension. Ships could become lost in hyperspace, unlike what Harry was used to using. He decided to travel around Earth routes for a while and discover how the galaxy had changed since Hermione had first explored during the first quests through the jump gates. A few days later Harry was Why, considering how he had the luck he did. He could not die and would always manage the impossible, yet he was constantly attacked or placed in a situation calling for battle. When he had jumped to Mal space, he found a transport ship under attack from raiders. He instantly prepped for battle, and by the time the raiders turned to attack him he was firing into them. Using the Force, he was able to aim with perfect accuracy with every shot. He linked his 4 lasers so that he would destroy fighters in one shot and blasted one after another. One raider managed to shoot his fighter. Thankfully his fighter had shields, which were thought impossible in this universe. The hit did no damage, so Harry continued firing on the raiders. Once they were destroyed he offered to assist the transport to its destination. 2 days later Harry arrived on Babylon 4. The station was massive, easily the size of a superstar destroyer, being miles long. He landed his fighter and was thanked by the station commander for protecting the transport. It seemed that the station was to be brought online in another day, and Harry agreed to stay for the ceremony. That turned out to be a mistake. While the party had been fun, 24 hours after operation the station seemed to phase into another dimension. When several people came to evacuate the station, Harry escorted them in his own fighter. Once the evacuation was complete, the station disappeared completely. The convoy was led across the system to Babylon 5. It turned out that they had been shifted through time, and this 5-mile-long station, which was the smallest of the Babylon stations, was completed and remained in operation. Harry remained on the station for several weeks, learning about the current times as well as sending Hermione a message about what had happened. When he received a reply, it seemed she had been thinking he had gotten caught up in someone else's fight and was out of communications. Considering his life, that was actually perfectly plausible. While he was on the station, several fighter pilots, including Commanders Garibaldi, Ivanova, and Sinclair, all wanted to look at his fighter. The X-Wing was far superior compared to a Starfury, though the Starfury could do a 180-degree turn unlike the X-Wing. Sinclair actually asked if he could get him several of the fighters, which he had to reply that it was a one-of-a-kind and the designer had died unable to build another. Harry decided to remain on the station for a time and witnessed Sinclair move on while John Sheridan took over as the commander. He took my being there without much question, and during several battles with raiders was very glad I was there to help. When the Shadow War began, Harry once again found himself on the front lines. When more and more systems fell, Sheridan decided to go to their home world. Harry offered him a ride and on the way learned that he wanted to destroy as much of the planet as possible. Harry smiled and offered to blow the system. Sheridan thought he was joking and accepted, so when Harry did so he was shocked. When they returned to B5 they found a small fleet of shadow vessels attacking. Harry began firing missiles and torpedoes as well as sending laser blasts at the vessels. Unlike the Starfury's attack, Harry's attack actually destroyed the vessels. They began to fear him. A week later they attempted to kill him on T. He station, so he drew his saber and struck them down using the Force to protect himself. When the Vorlons started destroying planets, Harry was flying beside Sheridan in another attack. Harry sent axe against both Vorlons and Shadows, including using the Force against them. Harry was pissed when they began to destroy life on the planet's surface and sent a massive thought bomb into the middle of the two fleets. While the alliance under Sheridan was unaffected, the Vorlons and Shadows lost a good third of their fleets to the bomb. Because they were telepathic, they could sense their brothers' souls trapped and surrendered. They, along with the other first ones, which were the ancient races in the galaxy, left beyond the rim. Harry continued to help out with other attacks and was easily the most feared person in the galaxy. However, he returned to Earth and began to find the Muggleborns and began to train them as both Jedi and wizards. Slowly the wizarding world was reformed with technologically advanced Jedi, who were willing to fight throughout the galaxy. They had the best equipment thanks to Harry rebuilding tech from the other universe. After doing all he could for the galaxy, RRY took Hermione back to the other universe where they had 7 daughters and 5 sons over the next 300 years. They were all trained as both wizards and Jedi, 4 to each order. Hermione and Harry continued to live for another 1,000 years before becoming one with the Force, without their deaths necessary. Harry was reunited with his old family and was forced to endure Steph and Hermione comparing stories of their husband, but at least when Padme joined them he had the company of Anakin. Sometimes eternity just sucked for those who were married. This line didn't really work out, but it does conclude the story. I hope that you enjoyed reading it.